Kang has lived through this broadcast once already. The apocalypse hits live television, and the president grips his suit, forcing out the reason he declared martial law, while Kang, one snack shop owner among millions, watches his world crack open for the first time. Outside, under the night sky, the president exhales once and stops pretending this is normal. He tells everyone what Kang already knows too well. Survival life is happening in reality. That game had one nightmare at its center. Yunjambi, the asteroid that was never supposed to leave the screen. Kang cleared it 100 times with a controller in his hands. Now at dawn, control rooms panic as the US military fails to intercept it, and Yunjambi drops into Okinawa. The impact wipes the coast open, and the first survivors do not stay survivors for long. Japan starts turning into zombies, and Kang's one ugly question is born. If he ever gets another run, can he prepare enough to beat this? The president returns to the microphones with the face of a man signing off for millions. He asks the citizens to meet again alive, and Kang, like everyone else in those dark homes, watches the broadcast end without saving anyone. In that ruined world, Kang, a veteran survivor who refuses to die quietly, shoulders his pack before stepping out armed and ready. Our boy grins at the dead city ahead because hiding is no longer enough. Kang and the others spread out in the alley with weapons ready, still trash talking like the world did not just end. Kang needles them about losing 3 rounds straight, then calls out their flashy moves before charging first. One fighter drops from above, yelling that Kang had better not regret it, while another rushes the zombies below. It should crush their push right there. Then, in a blink, the rabbit-eared brute punches back and flips the whole attack on them. Kang gets dragged into the kind of street fight survival life used to sell as fun. Blades, blasts, and monsters fill the road, but the only thing that matters is who stays standing when the bodies start falling. Survival life once shot to the top of the charts for fights like this, then fell off almost as fast. Now Kang is living the bad part for real, cursing another meat shield as a blast tears through the monster line. Great game, terrible lifestyle. Years earlier, inside survival life, Kang's old party corners a winged boss that everyone wants dead before logout. Kimbap, the gamer who keeps taking last hits, hears the call to finish it and lifts his bow like he has been waiting all night. Kimbap accepts the last hit with a quick thanks, then pulls the shot back. The boss should eat the whole blast and drop clean. But a breath later, the party's mood flips from victory to bored arguing. Inhak, Kang's loud old teammate, smirks that he told them to take it slow. Inhak drags everyone toward a new chat window when a real newbie appears. 5 concurrent players, historic stuff. The fight has become routine enough that the monster is just debris underfoot. The cat-eared teammate boots a mutated head aside, then gives up and logs off for the day. Kimbap watches the others wave goodbye and fade out toward real life. For them, survival life is just a dying game with one more boring session left. Then the memory jumps to the version Kang can never laugh off. Kimbap stands in a ruined city surrounded by zombies, and the game enemies now bleed into real streets. More zombies gather under something much larger, and Kang faces the incoming figures alone. The old game has stopped feeling like a game. Back before the real disaster, Kimbap rage quits at his screen and swears survival life is hopeless. Then the shutdown notice hits, 1 week left before the servers die. Kang stays with the ending because one zombie still bothers him. He wanted to catch it with his friends before quitting, but the recording ends with him pulling off the VR gear in defeat. Back in ordinary life, Kang turns that old frustration into research. Shelves fill with hard drives and survival manuals because our boy is done trusting memory alone. At his snack shop, Kang snaps right back into work and calls out that the food is almost ready. The apocalypse can wait 1 minute, the pan cannot. He slices the kimbap fast and clean, each piece landing like muscle memory. This guy has survived hell once, but he still runs a lunch rush properly. A student digs into tteokbokki and fish cake nearby, while Kang keeps an eye on the shop. For a second, life is small, hot, and normal. Someone calls Kang as he carries out a tray, and he turns with a confused little hum. The regular customer points at him instead of the food, so now the young master knows something is off. Then the words appear above Kang, plain as day, status window. Kang stares up and thinks, wait, why is that real? Later in the dim room, Kang raises his hand toward the ceiling and speaks the command again. He is testing whether the strange power responds to him on purpose, not just by accident. Back at the shop, Kang forces the status command again, and power bursts from his hand hard enough to make him scream. He stares at the floating window and thinks, wait, it actually showed up? Real life just answered like a game menu. The survival life screen hangs in front of Kang, with dead things crawling in the memory behind it. Our boy still finds time to judge the command name as lame, because panic apparently has standards. Kang reaches down, opens the system deeper, and a portal forms under his hand. The pull hits his head at once, and he grabs his skull like the menu just punched back. Bad start. Because the window might prove the apocalypse is real, Kang heads straight for the glowing gate instead of waiting for the world to catch up. He raises the card like proof in his hand, but his own caution stops him. Is going in with no plan just suicide? Kang sweats in front of the gate, clenches his hand, and grabs a ladle like that will solve interdimensional travel. Then he notices the portal does not lead into a labyrinth, so he straps on his pack and asks himself the real question. Should he go inside? Kang drops through a blinding portal and lands somewhere impossible with only his backpack and no clear way back. He stares up, blurts that this cannot be real, and realizes the gate has already carried him past normal reality. Too late. In Sura's forest, Kang marks a tree first, because getting lost before the apocalypse would be a brutal opening mistake. See, Sura is the game world he researched, full of forests, creatures, and survival rules that may now be real. Which brings us right back to Kang wondering why this forest is so huge. Kang expects proof to come from something obvious, maybe a creature he remembers from the game, but the next second, a pale antlered valley deer steps out and charges him, knocking him onto the ground before he can get comfortable. More valley deer crowd him, while Kang admits he still has not found clean proof of the apocalypse. He says it would be easier if stone monkeys or humped boars showed up, but he has never seen a valley deer in Sura. That is the part that bothers him. Kang keeps moving anyway, blade out, telling himself the proof is not here yet. Then the forest answers with a system find, sun apple. Our boy looks up at the glowing fruit and goes still. Kang bites into the sun apple, and the power inside it slams through his body. He recoils, curses under his breath, then drops to his knees laughing because the fruit is real, the system is real, and Sura is real. No more guessing. Still kneeling in the forest, Kang grips his head and finally stops arguing with himself. He tells himself to accept it now. The end is coming, and he has stepped into the one place that can prepare him before it arrives. Kang stares into Sura's red sky, still hearing his own thought. The end is coming. His grin looks almost wrong, because the sun apple just turned fear into a countdown. Back outside Sura, Kang checks the report that started everything. Yunjum-B fell near Okinawa, and 32 days remain. Wait, Yunjum-B causes what? You see, Iron Death disease is the nightmare after the impact. Metal crumbles, spores spread 5 hours later, and whole regions need months to recover, which drags us straight back to Kang's new advantage. In that old disaster, Mi Kyung, an acquaintance forced to fight through the collapse, raises a rifle only for the weapon to fail in her hands. Kang remembers that kind of helplessness clearly, so the new trait landing in his status window hits different. The system grants Kang private portal, and the strange power settles around him instead of breaking him. No panic now, our boy has a door only he can use. After that first analysis, Kang burns his saved money on tools, armor, blades, and supplies. When someone catches him mid-haul, he plays it off with a quick nothing and keeps moving before questions pile up. Kang smiles once the witness is gone, turns back towards Sora, and opens the portal himself. This guy never survived by charging blind, so every trip becomes a test run. Inside the private space, Kang studies monster data like a planner building traps before war. He sorts weaknesses, rehearses routes, and keeps drilling until the corpses in his memory stop feeling like warnings and start feeling like targets. Back in Sura's forest, Kang trains with a bower until his arm shakes, thinking, one more shot. Can I make this work? Kimbap lines up the timing and asks if he should shoot now, so Kang lets him try. Kang expects a messy first attempt because Kimbap is still reading the fight like a game, but one heartbeat later, Kimbap's strike lands clean, and Kang has to admit the talent is real. That thumb up was not empty confidence. With the first hunting test done, Kang climbs for another golden fruit and checks the forest for anything that tracks goblins. Then he finds the sign he wanted and mutters the gross answer himself, goblin droppings. Kang reads the droppings and keeps low, because a lone trail means the goblin may be an outcast. He thinks he has to find it, whatever it takes. A real fight gives him the test no practice run can fake. At the water, Kang spots the goblin drinking alone, and it looks exactly like the ones from Sura. Goblins are the first low-tier monster players learn, but a real one can still kill him, a lone goblin, armed or not. Kang draws his bow and checks the goblin's hands before he fires. No spear, no poison dart. If he stays calm, this guy can take the opening shot. Kang expects the arrow to end the fight before the goblin even understands it is being hunted. Then, in a blink, the hit only wounds it and the goblin screams through the pain instead of dropping. Bad read. The wounded goblin recovers fast, swears through its injury, and answers like it has survived ambushes before. Kang steps out and reads the danger aloud, saying the goblin is a seasoned veteran. Now the clean hunt turns into close combat. Kang draws his blade as the goblin rushes him, and the distance disappears too fast. The goblin forces him into a strength contest, so Kang grits through the pressure and keeps his feet under him. Too close. Kang's anger snaps when the goblin knocks the weapon loose and keeps pressing in. He drives back hard, but the goblin still looms over him with its mouth open and arms spread. Not dead yet. Inside the dark cave, after the fight, Kang drops to his knees with his body spent. He survives, but the hunt takes more out of him than he wanted to admit. His first serious test leaves him breathing on the ground. Until the apocalypse arrives, Kang keeps turning every fight into homework. Back in the pre-apocalypse training days, Inhak the Intel Bringer continues his monster lectures, and Kang grinds Sura through VR for any material that might save him later. Kimbap breaks from the stream when Bulsung Man, a donor watching the broadcast, sends support. The lesson keeps moving anyway, because the forest is not dangerous only because one monster is strong. Inhak explains that the real threat is the balanced monster ecosystem. Here's the thing, one creature's territory tells Kang what else must be nearby. That rule brings us right back to Kang's panic when old game knowledge starts surfacing at the worst time. Kang thinks, why is he remembering happy streams now? He forces his shaking body forward in the rain and shouts, come on, if he wants to live, the next move has to work. In Sura's rainy forest, the owlbear has Kang pinned in killing range, and its next swipe can end the whole run. Kang forces himself to wait for one opening. One timing. The beast catches his face as he moves, so Kang throws his body aside before the claws can finish him. Did the trick work, or is he already too slow? Kang remembers the old rule and drives the flashlight straight into the owlbear's eye, but the beast is still moving, and Kang's legs almost give out before his brain does. does. Back in his room, Kang comes to after that terror, body still shaking. He laughs too hard, then slides down the wall because his legs have nothing left. The golden item in his pack finally gives Kang enough life to breathe again. Light runs through him, his body steadies, and our boy gets up hungry instead of dead. Later, at a meal, Kang reacts when Mi-kyung shows up, and the talk turns practical fast. While eating, he asks whether she tried the status window he mentioned before. Mi-kyung smiles with a pen in hand, and Kang finally understands why she held back before. She points to her phone and insists the status window is real. Her proof is not just a weird feeling. News and clips show people cheering around impossible portal-like events, so the world is starting to leak game rules into daily life. Kang does not treat that as a miracle, because his safety is still not guaranteed. If the system is real, who survives when the rules turn hostile? Mi-kyung watches his caution and calls him a good person for still helping. Kang accepts the words quietly, but his next move is supplies, not comfort. Kang gathers a gas mask, fireproof suit, pepper spray, a fire axe, fuel, and a pipe, because ordinary tools can keep him alive in Sura. He grips the axe near the portal and decides he has to secure one no matter what. Back inside Sura's forest, Kang faces the rift and goes hunting for the old goblin lead. While searching, this guy spots a suspicious cave and slows down before stepping closer. Kang hides in the brush and studies the cave from a distance. The key is simple in his head: what kind of monster lives here? The footprints near the entrance answer him. They look like kobold tracks, and that turns the cave into a trap Kang cannot rush. The thing is, kobolds are dangerous because a pack can poison a clean plan before it starts. Inside the tunnel, several of them are asleep, and that pulls us right back to Kang's preparation. Kang cuts firewood for his plan, even though the work is rougher than expected. Then the kobolds wake and charge him screaming through the cave. Too soon, Kang swings first because the kobolds wake too early, and our boy refuses to let the cave choose the pace. He drops low, springs back up, and puts one kobold down before the pack can surround him. Kang stares at the dead kobold and thinks, was drowsiness a status effect? Then the next thought hits harder. A one-turn kill is possible even now? He cannot stop to test it, so he starts the real plan before more kobolds wake. Kang sets the dry growth burning and forces the cave to cough out whatever is hiding inside. You see, in Sura, low-tier kobolds all share one weakness. Loud panic breaks their rhythm, which brings us right back to Kang covering his ears while the kobolds roar themselves stupid. Only 2 kobolds come out, and Kang expected more from a 7-member pack. The cave itself starts giving him the count, so this guy knows the raid is already working. Kang presses the confused kobolds before they recover, cutting one down and forcing the fight deeper into the rain. The pack charges anyway, hungry and loud. Bad choice. The lunging kobold should reach him first, claws out and mouth open. Kang braces low with the haft in both hands. But an instant later, he drives the weapon through the attack and breaks its rush cold. The last kobold leader roars to keep control, but Kang has already counted the bodies. He pins the leader in place, and the creature trembles so hard even its own fear looks embarrassing. Kang ends it with one clean finish and claims the cave as his new farming point. He plans to use the kobold's hideout properly, hide, resources, and all. The wind leaves Kang breathing hard in the forest, clutching his gear and checking what the raid cost him. When the shop screen opens, his shoulder is already complaining, but the loot keeps him moving. Kang reaches the ruined nest and realizes victory did not include housekeeping. He sighs, admits he has to clean the place first, and starts hauling debris like the cave personally offended him. With the nest cleared enough to test, Kang opens the gate and carries the cleaning tools through. He grips the cart and wonders, will this even work? Back at his recovery spot, Kang treats his forearm with the ointment and checks how badly the raid chewed him up. Then he thinks the quiet part. If every run hurts this much, farming Sura may kill him before Yunjambi, the zombie source, ever lands. After the Sura run leaves Kang battered but stalked, the next problem is simple. He still has to survive long enough to use any of it. Kang rubs his chin and thinks he may die before the disaster even arrives, so he starts hunting for a cleaner first kill weapon. A sling sounds light, a bow needs too much terrain, and a gun only solves 1 or 2 problems before the noise ruins him. Then Kang's eyes snap open. Wait, does that old Sura lore work in reality too? Still moving on crutches, our boy drags himself back to the desk and tests the thought instead of trusting it. See, Sura's background lore was never meant to be a survival manual, but Kang has already seen game rules leak into the real world, which brings us right back to his laptop at midnight. At the rooftop, someone spots the supplies and asks if Kang really hauled all of it up there in one night. The sheer pile proves he is rushing to stock the roof fast, and Kang keeps moving boxes instead of slowing down. Then Mi-kyung calls out while Kang is still walking with a large box. The supply run gets interrupted before he can finish carrying everything into place. The kid realizes he needed a haircut before the next exploration anyway. Fine, one normal problem gets handled before the world ends. Kang tightens the bandages around his hands and accepts the suggestion without making it a whole debate. His fingers already look like they filed a complaint. At the barber's chair, Kang gives the simplest order possible. Kang tells the hairdresser, shade it all off. Later that night, In-hak shows up out of nowhere, and Mi-kyung asks why he is here at this hour. In-hak says he came to share intel, so Kang has to deal with him before the rooftop work can continue. Kang already knows In-hak is trouble in human form, since they once fought over loud singing. Not monsters, Singing. Mi-kyung says someone tried to lock down the information, deleted the video, and ran. Her group is now trying to find where that guy lives, so the online mess is turning into a real-world hunt. Kang remembers the masked claim about deleting the video out of disillusionment and freezes on one word: monopolize? He thought the video was gone for one reason, but the crowd has built a whole different story around it. Elsewhere online, Kimbap the loot stealer is pushing someone for a quick decision when he suddenly spots the person behind him. The man tries to brush it off and says they can talk later. Kimbap answers the brush off with a hard side-eye, then tightens his jaw and glares straight at him. He is not letting the man postpone this. The demand has turned into a confrontation. The man threatens Kimbap to leave while he is still asking nicely. But one heartbeat later, Kang cuts in with a reminder that last time ended in humiliation. With that warning hanging there, Kang and Mi-kyung exchange numbers just in case. The video hunt, Inhawk's intel, and the rooftop project are now tied to the same phone in Kang's pocket. Kang puts construction aside and turns on his computer. The comments are already ugly. People want hackers to dox the uploader, while others argue the whole video was recorded and played for everyone to see. At the desk, Kang's arm suddenly twitches, and his head starts clearing in a way he does not trust. Why does using this power make his mind feel sharper? Kang raises his hand and opens the dimensional gate again. The portal answers, so the test moves from theory to danger in one breath. Kang clenches his fist and strips the moment down to one rule. He is not a hero, not a chosen savior, and he does not need a grand mission. Kang looks up and says the only goal he actually believes in: survive. That is enough. Then his back wound bleeds and something wrong crawls out behind him. Kang catches the shift too late and turns his eyes sideways. A skeleton rises at Kang's back, joints cracking as it reaches for him. Kang glares at it and spits, "You son of a bitch." The skeleton presses in while Kang is already running on fumes, and Kang thinks his mood cannot get any worse. He twists toward the threat and throws himself forward to escape the first strike. And just like that, the bone shards catch him right where he stands. Bleeding and dizzy, Kang forces the status window open with a shaky hand. He mutters, "Status window," but his thoughts keep breaking apart, and he grips his head because even thinking hurts now. Back inside his safe house, Kang digs the fragments out himself because wasting medicine this early is not an option. He screams through the tweezers, patches the wounds, and crashes onto the couch with the bloody pieces left on the table. Rough night? Once the pain settles, Kang drinks from his flask and checks what failed. If he never noticed the attack, then perception has to go up first, because detection keeps him alive before strength ever gets a turn. Kang sorts the rules in his head. Stats grow through experience, and gear can boost them too. Our boy tests that with weapons, but the new skill he earns, Wild Instinct, feels built for a monster instead of him. He sighs on the corpse and thinks, why did I get this one? That question pushes Kang back to the old files from Survival Life, the game world tied to Sura and Yoonjumbi. Here's the thing, the background story had warning events before Yoonjumbi fell. Strong zombies appear after those signs, and that pulls us right back to Kang's computer. Kang remembers the Russian ship as the last warning, then freezes on the report from Jiri Mountain. An orc corpse has already been found near a campground, leaked before the news could bury it. The orcs are early. At Cafe Star Bin, Mi-kyung catches Kang looking wrecked and asks if he is okay. She guesses Inhak dragging out the last haircut set him off, but Kang shuts that down fast. Then Mi-kyung reaches for his hand and admits the real reason. She isn't awakened. Kang came intense from the remodeling work, but Mi-kyung's confession gives him a better lead than coffee ever could. Back at home, this guy checks his phone and starts planning the orc hunt from the ground up. By the next morning, Kang is already forging hunting gear for the orcs. The metal fights back, the anvil spits fire, and Kang snaps, AGH. Still, he keeps hammering because Jiri Mountain is no longer a rumor. That Jiri Mountain rumor finally drags Kang out into the rain. Kang buckles in, starts the car, and asks himself if he is really ready to chase the orcs before midnight. At the campground, Kang studies the old monster footage one last time, then checks every blade and trap in the back seat. This guy steps into the storm with his hood up and his weapon ready. Something drops fast through the storm above the forest, trailing blue slashes of light, while Kang pushes through puddles below. His soaked, wide-eyed stare says the hunt has changed. He is no longer just searching the campground because something is coming down through the rain. Kang swings his light toward the noise and finds the orc waiting in the storm. Then his stomach drops. Wait, a red orc subspecies? Does that mean the skill drop is guaranteed? Rare monsters can drop skills when the right conditions are met. Kang has already seen that rule work, which drags us straight back to the flare in his hand. He lights it and runs, using the red orc's aggression to pull it exactly where he wants. Kang layers the trap with another flare, then forces the red orc to commit to the chase. The orc bears down with its weapon raised, expecting a clean hit, but a breath later, Kang's setup stops its movement cold. With the red orc pinned, Kang's attack comes from above and blasted off its feet. The recoil hits hard enough that he has to brace, but the shot lands, and the orc loses its opening. Kang knows the red orc's eyes will recover fast, so he drops into cover and burns a flashbang over its head. 20 seconds, that is all the kid buys before the red orc can see again. Kang lights the can bomb and thinks the blind window is already closing. From here, our boy has one job: pin the red orc before its sight comes back. The red orc stops in the rain, then its eye snaps back alive. Kang expects the flashbang to keep buying him space, but an instant later, the orc lunges straight through his timing Kang. Kang braces low and catches the charge with his knife arm shaking. The kid refuses to back off, so he drives in first and forces the red orc to open its mouth with a roar. Kang jumps into the worst possible range because he needs the orc's head level with his. He raises the lit flare and thinks, is this close enough? Then this guy shoves the flame right into its mouth. The red orc bites down too late, and the fire goes off inside its throat. Kang gets blasted down with it, and the rain cannot hide how hard that hit lands. Kang screams through the rain and hauls himself back up. The fallen orc groans, so Kang finishes it before it can move again. No victory pose, just survival. Kang's face drains as the fire climbs around the body. He thinks, am I going to die like this too? Then the system cuts in and tells him his level rises to 3, with 10 points gained. Kang reaches for the system window, still breathing hard from the kill. Did the drop guarantee a skill, or did he just get lucky? You see, even an awakened person has no clean promise against infection, so Kang cannot treat one win as safety. In Kang's memory of the ruined world, men like him Chol-jun use chaos as permission. Kang remembers the warning clearly. If people like that survive, systems and laws collapse for personal gain, and gangs with bats start writing the rules in the streets. Back in the rain, after the red orc fight, Kang crouches over the torn body and grips the bloodied cloth. Tomorrow he decides he opens the portal again, because this kill still leaves him with more work than time. Kang drives the shovel into the rocky ground and curses the whole job under his breath. If the setup were fine, he would not be digging like this after nearly dying, so he forces himself faster, screaming that he only needs to finish it quickly. Kang locks onto the portal skill and pours everything into the command. He grips the weapon, sprints forward, and shouts, "Open portal." Back at home, Kang drives like the clock is chasing him, then checks his body in the kitchen. He thinks, is this time for real? The red orc fight is over, but infection is still sitting in his head. Outside by the unfinished fence, Kang checks the plan and realizes the defensive line should already be underway, so our boy tears into the weapons crate, finds the gear he ordered, and grabs the bat like he has no time left to be picky. A delivery arrives, so Kang crouches by the door and tells the driver to leave everything out front. The driver should answer and go, but the next second, nobody answers, and Kang goes still. It is Mi-kyung at the door, apologizing with food in her hands. Kang sees her standing there and thinks, why is Mi-kyung here now? The apocalypse is right around the corner, and his brain picked this exact week to remember dating exists. Inside Kang's house, Mi-kyung gets hit with a strange light, then freezes while Kang reaches in to steady her. She is carrying sausage like this is a normal visit, but Kang is already checking for signs she awakened. Mi-kyung stays in the kitchen, cooking and smiling, while Kang sweats through the worst possible social timing. She laughs softly, and the kid has to pull his head back to survival mode before he makes a fool of himself. The thing is, Kang cannot just warn people openly without exposing himself as awakened, so he uses the community instead, posting what he knows about iron wire disease and how perception keeps survivors alive. Which brings us right back to In-hawk, who proves the point when his flashlight catches a giant spider waiting above him. Kang sits Mi-kyung down with a notepad because she needs clean facts before the world gets worse. He taps the table and starts explaining what he found, but she blushes at how serious he sounds. Kang thinks, what a trashy bastard, and keeps talking anyway. Kang tells Mi-kyung that systems and clans will collapse for personal gain, so she cannot trust people blindly. Then Mi-kyung looks straight at him and asks if that includes him. Fair question? Kang shows her the online shop where weapons can be bought like the world has turned survival into a checkout cart. But the problem is bigger than gear, because zombies and horn zombies are already tied to the same nightmare waiting outside. Kang's warning lands hard when Mi-kyung faces the kind of attack he keeps talking about. A zombie grabs her from behind and blood spills before she can react. Too late. Back inside the house, Kang sits across from the strange apparition Mi-kyung has brought out. It is private enough that he moves too fast and slams his hand down, startled before he can hide it. What did she just show him? Kang scratches the back of his neck, awkward now, while Mi-kyung admits she only revealed this because it is him. She leans down laughing, making it clear this is no longer just a warning about danger, it is a private show of trust. After that, Kang puts the talk to work and starts building the fence around his shelter site. He piles barbed wire and supplies in the forest, then drives support posts into the ground until the defensive line finally begins to exist. Kang finishes the barbed wire line with infrared sensors tucked through the perimeter, then steps back and lets himself take one look. The fence is ugly, sharp, and exactly what his shelter needs. Nice view, terrible welcome mat. Inside the cave, Kang climbs over stacked crates and checks the supplies he rushed over first. Food, tools, gear. The urgent stuff is finally off the streets, so our boy starts planning sandwich panels to split the shelter into usable rooms. The cold hits him right after the work does. Kang sniffles, coughs, and nearly folds over beside the crates before he crawls toward the gas heater for one blessed pocket of warmth. He needed that. Kang clicks his pen and keeps listing what the shelter still needs, because a fence alone will not save anyone when the wire disease starts. At the doorway, the shop owner puts everything on him and asks him to handle the rest. Back on the streets, Kang walks for hours before the wire disease begins, checking every place he plans to loot. Hardware store first, pharmacy next, motorcycle shop after that. And this guy mutters the route like missing one stop could get him killed. In the alley, In-hawk steps into Kang's path with a bag over his shoulder and greets him like this is just an overdue catch-up. Kang has no time for surprises, but In-hawk has fresh rumors, so he stops. Kang Kang feeds Inhok the cover story about hearing status window rumors from a gym member. Inhok asks if Kang believes it, and Kang plays unsure while watching for what Inhok really knows. How much leaked already? Then Inhok blurts out the part that matters. Someone was levitating. Kang scratches his head and admits that looked like a real superpower, while Inhok says the guy plans to storm a broadcasting station and make himself famous. The talk shifts to the stairs, and Kang leans in when Inhok mentions an incident big enough to shake the city. Inhok calls it the Yoido shootout, and Kang snaps awake at once. A shootout? Kang rubs his head, cursing himself for missing it while buried in prep work. And then he checks his phone and sees how little the news is saying. Wait, media control too? A bearded man shouts, and Kang sprints down the alley with his phone raised. Whatever is on that phone is urgent enough to send him running instead of just talking. Back home, Kang replays the old omen, the Jiri Mountain orc corpse discovery near the campground. Hardly anyone should know that timing, because in his last run, the red orc came from beyond the dimension, and Kang buried it himself. Kang sits with the video frozen in front of him and lines it up with the shootout. It might be too much speculation, but if someone leaked apocalypse information to the government early, then Kang is not the only one moving before the fall. His mind jumps to other dangerous awakened players already testing powers in the dark. One floats like meditation is a weapon, another channels power into a branch, and Kang still cannot name who is behind the government leak. Not yet. Back at his table, Kang has supplies moving and enemies forming, but the leak around the Jiri Mountain orc corpse leaves one ugly thought in his head. Kang stares at the board and lands on it cold. The real hand may be behind the government. Kang turns the problem over like a war map, with one red piece sitting away from the others. He crushes the red crystal in his fist and thinks, who is moving this early? Here's the thing. The game ending early is not just bad timing to Kang. If the world and the system have builders, then those builders sit at the top of his suspect list, which brings us right back to the people already touching the government. Kang narrows it to 3 possible suspects and circles Survivor 1, the information source close to the president. He cannot prove it yet, so the name stays on the paper instead of becoming a target. In his memory, Kang sits across the table from the other man, papers between them trying to force the evidence into an answer. It gets him nowhere, and he leans back groaning that he still does not know. Then the old loneliness hits him, and Kang admits he misses his veteran friends. But he snaps forward because sharing a little information would not stop the catastrophe anyway. Not enough. 2 days later, back at the shelter, our boy pushes load after load into storage, before the generator even arrives. Food, gear, tools, weapons, the first setup is finally standing on its own feet. Kang starts planning phase 2 right away, with steel logistics trays and a wall drill job next on the list. Then he measures the room again and mutters that there is way less space than he expected. The basement waterproofing is already done because Kang has been grinding that work bit by bit, so this guy parks the remaining problems for phase 2 and moves on before the clock eats him alive. Outside the shelter now, Kang scouts the nearby valley because a fortress is useless if the forest around it turns hostile. The local food chain is already busy, with an octopus dragging down a crab in the sand. At the old owlbear site, Kang expects a corpse and finds empty ground instead. Wait, the corpse is gone? Then in a blink, the drone catches a huge furred creature near a skeleton, and Kang wonders if it ate the whole thing. Then the trail gets worse, because goblin tracks cut through the same area. Kang measures the valley at about 1.5 kilometers from the shelter, and that short distance puts the danger right near his front door. As the drone returns, Kang maps the swamp zone and logs boars, deer, and rabbits around the route. The kid sketches the terrain fast, because knowing where food gathers also tells him where predators will come. That is enough warning for Kang to gear up instead of waiting for the forest to choose the first move. He grabs weapons, takes a helmet, checks his phone once, and heads out armed for a hands-on sweep. Kang finds huge bear footprints cutting across the trail, so he drops low and checks the mud by hand. The tracks are fresh enough to pull him off the route, and when he spots movement ahead, he thinks the goblins have shown up at the perfect time. Ahead, the goblins are already tearing at each other over a caged rabbit. Their pale leader watches the mess from the side, and Kang reads the whole camp in one glance. Food fight, weak discipline, easy opening. Kang starts with the leader because a noisy pack gets worse if the boss stays standing. One hidden shot drops the pale goblin through the head, and the rest snap toward the brush. First blood. The goblins rush to answer him with numbers, blades, and panic. They expect one stranger in the rain to fold under the swarm. But a breath later, Kang slips through their charge and starts cutting them down one by one. One screaming goblin lunges like it can scare him off, but Kang keeps coming. This guy walks straight into the weapons pointed at him and basically asks what they plan to do now. The answer is not much. The last goblins collapse groaning, and Kang catches the status window flickering at the edge of the fight. Wait, the status reacts now? He moves again before the window can distract him, finishes the stragglers, then stops alone in the forest with one tired breath. Kang looks up, surprised that the whole plan actually works in the field. No cheering crowd, no backup team, just bodies on the ground, and a safer path near the shelter. With the clearing quiet, our boy finally checks the loot instead of charging deeper. The first item is a red fruit that restores health, so that goes straight into the useful pile. Then Kang reaches for another bag and freezes at the small blue toad sitting there. A toad? The little thing nearly slips away, and Kang grabs it close before his new prize escapes into the grass. Kang rests a hand on his helmet and decides the toad is staying, partly because it is useful and partly because it is stupidly cute. Then the real plan lands. Its paralysis poison can train his resistance, and poison blades will make hunting much easier around the shelter. Kang names the little blue toad Joe Doc, and the new recruit is already getting promoted to survival gear. Then the system warns him the survival life service ends in in 1 week, so Kang opens the dimensional gate before that door shuts for good. Move now. Inside Sura, Kang checks the riverside and confirms the plants he guessed about are really here. He marks down guaca trees and vegetable oil buds, then cuts down another loot spot before collecting the small white flowers by hand. Because this place is too valuable to lose, Kang leaves markers all over the forest path. The mist is thick, the route is annoying, and our boy refuses to trust memory when one wrong turn can waste a whole day. Back at the shelter rooftop, Kang calls Jodok over like he is raising the world's strangest pet. He holds food out with tweezers and tells it to open wide, showing he is keeping this creature close enough to feed it by hand instead of treating it like a random threat. Back inside his work area, Kang lines up test tubes of processed poison and studies the batch that took the longest. He stares at the pile of containers and thinks, did I make too much? The answer is sitting right there in front of him. Later at the quiet gym, Inhak meets Kang with bandages still on and admits he expected him the next day. Inhak hands him ointment, Kang asks what it is, and the empty gym makes both of them pause. Inhak asks what Kang plans to do next, and Kang keeps it loose, saying he still needs to think. Inhak clocks that Kang is also non-awakened and offers him a place if he has nowhere to go, but Kang's face tightens before he answers. Kang expects a normal talk to stay normal. Instead, the other man lunges and shoves him backward, turning the conversation into a physical threat before Kang can react. As Kang recoils in fear, the sight of a man at a rain-lit high window flashes through his mind, making the moment hit like more than a simple stumble. Back on the ground outside the building, Kang jolts awake and tries to check what happened. He hangs wrong in the air for one awful second, muttering, "Why am I?" before Inhak calls out for him to calm down. Kang refuses to wait around confused, so he steadies himself and scouts the whole area himself. After catching his breath, he asks Mi-kyung, the hesitant acquaintance, if she remembers their appearance, and she says everything suddenly went dark. Kang listens, then his mask turns cold as he thinks, have they already started moving? Outside the building, Kang reads Mi-kyung's blackout as a moving threat and snaps, use blink immediately. Mi-kyung panics at the order, but Kang pushes harder and promises to send self-defense gear she has to carry. Away from Kang, a blonde man smirks while dark figures with glowing red eyes gather behind him. That lineup turns Kang's warning into a bigger problem, because the threat is not a lone attacker anymore. Back at his base, Kang checks the Awakened forums, because the city is moving faster than expected. See, after the Yoito shootout, the Awakened communities merge into one bigger mess, which drags us straight back to Kang trying to track every rumor before it reaches him. Kang sees people selling his videos and stops on the mouse. Wait, they are selling what now? One ad drags in Kimbap, the gamer from Kang's old group who loves stealing final hits, and claims Kimbap carried Kang during his newbie days. Kang stares at it like the screen personally insulted him. That is enough nonsense for one night, so Kang decides his training time goes up. He tests the power in his palm and starts looking for techniques that work in real fights, not just clean game fights. Inside Sura's forest, the game world where monsters actually bleed and bite, a goblin rushes in screaming. Kang watches the attack and reaches straight for the part that can kill him first. Because Kang needs weapons that work on people and monsters, he digs through his duffel bag and opens the stash. Stone axes, slingshots, clay beads, war clubs, he checks each one for use instead of looks. Kang tests the blunt weapons first, because zombies die easiest when the spores inside the skull get crushed. He launches one clean, and it punches dead center into the target. The level 10 shop has the ebony wood club waiting, so Kang marks it as his first blunt weapon buy. The kid starts grinding proficiency right there, then asks himself, is this good against people too? The answer gets ugly when Kang thinks about psychic awakeners. If one catches him first, he may not even lift a finger, so this guy stops treating human combat like a side problem. A masked threat tries to close in, expecting Kang to hesitate against a human, but Kang pins the attacker's wrist to the wall and forces the fight into his range. No room left. Kang remembers survival life giving 50 points for killing humans, but the murderer system forced registered killers into death matches with nearby users, so when another masked enemy charges with a spiked club, Kang draws steel instead of chasing easy points. The masked enemy commits to the heavy swing, and Kang cuts through the opening before it lands. He bursts forward, drops the blade, and the fight ends in one hard strike. Kang stands over the fallen masked enemy, breathing hard, then checks his phone before he relaxes. His face changes fast, and he mutters, is this real? Near his hideout, Kang finds a dead gray wolf by the wire and crouches with his stick ready. Wait, why did it die here? He checks its breath, then studies the ground like the answer might still be warm. Kang searches the wolf's body and the nearby brush, trying to decide if it wandered in alone or ran from something worse. A hidden eye watches from cover while he works, so this quiet forest suddenly feels crowded. The white wolf pup beside the dead beast barks at Kang like it will not leave her side. Kang asks if that was his mother, and the pup answers with one sharp woof, turning the dead wolf into an orphan pup's loss. Kang buries the dead wolf himself, then wipes the sweat off his face. The work drags up Mong-chi, the dog he raised as a kid, and his voice softens before he can stop it. Dingo, the smart dog, snarls in Kang's arms, ready to bite the hand helping him. Kang tries to explain first, like the pup is going to sit through a safety briefing. Kang reaches into his vest and pulls out dried meat instead of forcing the pup down. He crouches low, offers the the strip and asks Dingo if they have a deal. Dingo barks right in his face, and Kang takes that as a yes before the pup can renegotiate. Then our boy pats his head and tells him he's counting on him. Kang turns the truce into training right away, smiling as he makes Dingo repeat the same drill. The pup barks too loud, so Kang puts a finger up and shuts him down with one word: quiet. The first throws are simple, and Kang tests how fast Dingo follows the toy. Dingo looks tiny, but he keeps tracking each target like he understands the rules. Kang saves one last throw and sends it high, telling Dingo to jump. Can this pup really read timing already? Dingo should stumble over the box and lose the bone, but one heartbeat later, he clears it, snaps the bone out of the air, and lands running back to Kang. Kang drops to his knees and pets Dingo while the pup chews like nothing strange happened. He calls him a blessing from another world, and now the hideout has one more survivor inside it. That clean bone catch now turns into a real test. Kang gets a message from Hyungjun, one of his contacts, and thinks it is strange that Hyungjun reached out first. Still in Sura's forest, Kang gives Dingo a scent and asks if he can find the trail. Dingo drops his nose to the dirt, growls once, and pulls Kang straight into tracking mode. Kang tests the shop weapon on the forest wildlife, expecting the rabbit to get away. The rabbit is fast enough to notice the shot at the last second. Then, in a blink, Kang catches it anyway, and mutters that animals here are definitely stronger. Wait, if even the rabbits are built like this, what are Dingo's stats? You see, Sura is the game world Kang keeps using to train before the apocalypse. Its creatures let him test survival rules early, and that pulls us right back to Dingo. A system window pops up before Kang can finish the thought, and Dingo bolts ahead. Kang calls after him, but this little guy has already found something worth dragging him toward. Kang finds bullpepper growing in the forest and nearly stops in place. A rare supply just walked into his prep list, and Dingo gets the credit with one proud bark. Near the river, Kang asks Dingo to check for strange scents before he lowers his guard. When Dingo gives him nothing dangerous, Kang grips the spear and switches from gathering to hunting. The red trout do not count as monsters, so Kang gets no points and no item drops from them. He still spears one clean out of the water, because food does not need a reward window. Practical guy, Kang leaves the river with a bucket of fish, while Dingo trots beside him like he helped run the whole operation. No points, no loot, but the hideout gets dinner. Back in the real world, Kang keeps turning normal work into apocalypse prep. The demolition job wraps up early, and a worker thanks him for showing up before everyone else. At the site, Kang spots a tiny yawning white creature in an empty room, and he stops to focus on it. Outside, his tense stare follows a man in black as a hand slides a door open, because even someone lucky enough to avoid becoming a zombie still may not be safe. That warning hits harder at night, when Kang watches men loot a store for equipment. The world has not fallen yet, but people are already practicing. Nearby, Hyungjun storms up furious over the gear Kang stripped down to the bare minimum. He scolds Kang hard enough to flick his forehead, and Kang takes it with a small smile. Hyungjun keeps pressing, and Kang finally admits there's more to it than saving materials. Someone nearby starts piecing it together, because the tow truck Kang hates is tied to that same party. At the outdoor table, someone points toward the mountains while Kang listens, shifting the argument from stripped down gear to a new lead. Whatever is supposedly up there now matters enough to pull his attention away from the scolding. Kang keeps pressing the thread, so the man admits the people around that tow truck were lined up for something. He says he asked the guy directly, and the answer points straight back to Kim Chul-jun's group. Kang's mind jumps to the last time law vanished and violence started making its own rules. A raised bat, a defensive hand, bodies closing in, same smell. The bearded informant adds that every missing person claimed they got offers from awakened parties. Then the phone chat blows up because the group had 20 people a few days ago, and now that number is falling fast. One man stares at a photo and panics over Jiun, even wondering if he should call his ex-wife. Kang hears the fear underneath it, then asks his Hyung the thing he really wants answered. Kang asks what they should do with people who become pure threats after the world breaks. His answer is cold. In a disaster with no law, absolute evil does not get kept alive. Kang laughs it off when asked why that came up, but our boy is already moving. A phone drops near the table, Dingo barks, and the startled man underneath nearly jumps out of his skin. Kang calls ahead and asks someone to watch Dingo for a minute. Wait, he is leaving Dingo behind now? That means the next stop is not a normal errand. At the railing, a young woman shouts that she already refused, but they keep following her, so this is harassment turning into a confrontation. Kim Chul-jun decides he is done playing along, puts a hand on the blonde man's shoulder, and says he will do things his own way now. Kim Chul-jun calls down, still acting polite while threatening her to come down. Then he shows himself with the bat on his shoulder, wearing that smug cap like a warning label. Kim Chul-jun moves first and grabs for the opening. Sure, the bat gives him the upper hand. Kang drops low, catches the line of the attack, and starts counting instead of panicking. Kang pulls the wire tight on 2, turning Kim Chul-jun's own charge against him. And just like that, Kim Chul-jun swings through with 3 and forces the exchange back onto Kang. The hit lands hard enough to choke the breath out of someone nearby. Kim Chul-jun buckles for a second, and the blonde man can only stare as the dropped bat skids out of play. Kang presses him for an answer, but Kim Chul-jun snaps back that he would never tell him. Kang leans in anyway, because this guy's silence is already an answer. Kim Chul-jun suddenly sends Kang flying, and a hand shoots up too late to stop the fall. Mi-kang, the hesitant acquaintance, sees the second danger first and screams for Kang to watch out. The attacker commits to the follow-up, and Kang barely braces before the weapon catches him. Blood runs from the blow, and his helmet cracks under the impact. Kang crouches with the bat still in hand, fighting through the stagger. He thinks, did that come from his trait? The fight is not over. The capped fighter sees Kang stagger and taunts that a trait is overpowered overpowered this early, already treating him as easy prey. Then he charges his fist with crackling energy and says they are going all out even on a non-awakener. So Kang is hurt and facing an enemy with a clear power advantage. The capped fighter pours everything into one punch. Even though Kang is not awakened, Kang braces for the hit and reads the timing instead of running. The strike should finish the job, but an instant later, Kang is still standing, and the capped fighter calls the retreat before his own crew gets dragged deeper. In Hack, the old intel contact who once crossed paths with Kang watches the trio leave and mutters that they look breakable for people acting so loud. Mi-kyung rushes to Kang's cracked helmet and asks if he needs a piggyback. Kang's pride takes damage too. Kang thinks, wait, why do these two remind me of those two? The overlap hits him so strangely that he backs off from Mi-kyung's help and insists he is fine. Kang walks away with Dingo nearby, and Mi-kyung stays behind, wondering why he suddenly acts so distant. He looks back at her and the others, tempted to tell them about his ability, but trust is still the one tool he refuses to hand out for free. Back at the hideout, Kang checks the dimensional gate privileges and locks onto the next problem. To make the gate truly useful, this guy has to level faster, gain skills, and farm enough items to crush people like Kim Chejin's group. Kang hauls heavy equipment through the hideout and keeps working even when the strain catches up. He thinks, if I level too fast, do the respawn monsters around me get worse? Back at the hideout, Kang finishes installing a wood-burning stove and gets it lit. The place is no longer just a shelter, now it has heat, which makes the hideout easier to survive in while he prepares for the next grind. Kang finishes the wood-burning stove and the shelter finally starts feeling usable. Dingo curls up near the warmth while Kang checks the remaining jobs: generator, cameras, solar panels, all of it before delivery problems can slow him down. At home, the news turns to Yunjem B, the asteroid tied to the coming disaster. Reporters say it split into Yunjem B Alpha and Yunjem B Beta, while officials claim the fragments will not approach Earth. Kang already knows how ugly that promise gets. On D5, Yunjem B Beta falls first, lands near a Russian ship, and the tsunami sweeps that ship ashore at Gamshan port. From the wreckage, zombies start climbing onto land. The broadcast treats it like a strange disaster report, but Kang sits there with the remote, hearing the first real crack in the world. Opposition leaders demand the truth from the government, and the story spreads beyond one port. Kang hears the word world in the report and goes still, because his broken memories are lining up again. At the computer, Kang digs through what he remembers of Yunjem B and the zombie event. He thinks, was Yunjem B the real trigger, or just the opening move? His search points to a famous player known for helping newbies, a rare name people actually trusted before things got worse. Kang watches that player surrounded by companions and keeps studying him, because in the next run, even kindness can become leverage. Kang reaches toward the sudden game screen, and his face says it before he does. The unit opens now. The system has moved from research to hands-on trouble. Outside the safe house, Kang crouches by the fortified door after 2 straight nights awake. This guy wonders if 2 all-nighters in a row are even legal for the human body. Inside the shelter, Kang wipes the sweat off and starts the real test. He tells himself the main event starts now, because power decides whether this place lives after the grid dies. The solar panels feed the shelter, but the wiring turns messier than Kang expected. Our boy plugs in the charger and prays for one clean first try. First try, please. The setup works, so Kang adds another small win to the safe house. He also finds emeralds, a resource that is mostly useless right now, but still goes into the pile. Then Kang freezes, because the shelter problem turns into a teeth problem. A pack of wolves closes in, and the lead one is a manned wolf. The thought hits Kang hard. Were these the wolves that killed Dingo's mother? The kid tightens his grip, because running now leaves Dingo's side exposed. Kang wants a proper weapon, but the wolves already have his back measured. If he turns away, they tear him apart before he reaches it. So Kang chooses the only plan left: force the alpha out of position. Wolves move as a pack, but the alpha starts the rhythm, which brings us right back to Kang waiting for that first lunge. Kang studies the pack and thinks, do they attack together only after the alpha moves? Then he remembers the one weak point he can use. Strong sense can break a wolf's focus. With only a knife and a spray bottle, Kang sets his stance and commits. He thinks, is retreat even possible now? No, it has to work. Kang charges first, trying to make the alpha react on his timing. The wolf should punish that gamble and drag him under, but one heartbeat later, Kang slips past the killing angle. The alpha lunges from below, and Kang rides the opening instead of backing off. He drives the wolf away from him and steals the pack's momentum. Kang follows with a hard kick, and the alpha screams as the hit lands clean. The remaining wolves hesitate around their leader. Dingo's danger drops for one breath. Kang refuses to let the alpha crawl back into command, so he pins the wolf down and drives the knife into its face. The beast tries to flee, but our boy hurls his weapon after it before the second wolf can take his back. The alpha staggers, and the pack loses its clean timing. Dingo shakes against Kang's chest, so Kang pats him down and mutters, "Stop being a baby." Then he softens for one breath and promises the pup he'll avenge her. Dingo stays alive, but Kang's hands are still full. Near the cave mouth, Kang reassesses the fight and admits he got lucky. He had planned for the nearby goblins and wolves, but he completely ignored outside variables moving through their territory. That oversight forces him back to the monster map, because his defense plan has a blind spot. Back in the city, Kang walks through normal crowds while his head stays in apocalypse math. Drone surveys, more land, a real shelter, a moat as a second defense line, and Bluetooth beacons for range all stack up in his plan. Then someone calls him from behind. On the street, Mi-kyung greets Kang warmly, and Kang answers like he only stopped by for gear. The talk turns to weapons the members want to buy, but another man beside them worries a woman will not believe him. Kang has heard worse sales pitches. Jo Soo-yeon, a a Calypse hospital intern tied to the Korean Intern Resident Association, steps in tense and half ready to argue. She checks the details, then snaps at the gap between herself and the other member. To her, Kang is asking for trust before she has proof. Kang cleans up a rough spear and calls it nothing fancy, just a blade fixed to a shaft. Then the weapon responds in his hands, and this guy pauses. Wait, it works that easily? Back at the shelter, Dingo barks near Kang's hand, and Kang heads out to test the area again. In the clearing, he spots the manned wolves and freezes on the count. Why are there only 4? The answer is ugly. Another wolf has already torn into the alpha's corpse and left the pack leaderless. Kang thinks the broken pack should be easy now, because without the alpha, their attacks fall apart. He hides, waits, and starts taking them one by one. The last wolves rush in together, and for a second, it looks like Kang gets trapped from 3 sides. But the next second, he raises the spray and blasts the lunging wolves before they can close. The pack's charge breaks. The spray stops the first wolf mid-lunge, so Kang drives in with a spear before it recovers. He comes down hard, and the wolf's yelp tells him the pack is finally bleeding. The next wolf goes straight for Kang's face, and for a breath, our boy has no clean angle. But a breath later, Dingo launches in and clamps it down, and Kang praises him. Good job, Dingo. With the pack broken, Kang keeps the plan ugly and simple. From now on, he stabs them dead. The moment the fight ends, the system adds a new effect to Kang's trait, and he stops cold. Wait, what changed now? The gate lets him see inside his real house from Sura, so his safe house is no longer blind while he is away. Kang tests the new view from every angle, even through walls and doors. If this arrives at level 5, what else unlocks later? 2 more gates open to different places, and this guy starts treating the trait like a tool he can build plans around. More wolves move in before Kang can enjoy the discovery, so he leaves the theory alone and goes back to work. The portal can wait, teeth cannot. Here's the thing, the wolf fight gives Kang a better question than damage numbers. What else lives near his base? So back in Sura, he sends a drone over the forest and marks the goblins that can threaten his shelter. Goblins, horned reptiles, and nearby settlements all go onto his map, which brings us right back to the safe house plan. Kang grabs a chainsaw and a sickle. Dingo panics at the noise, and the 2 of them start clearing trees so the land stops hiding ambushes. Kang needs a second defense line, so Dingo hauls the trench tool along the fence while Kang sets the depth. 2 meters down, barbed wire above, and anything charging the house has to slow down first. While the work runs, Kang watches real-world news through the dimensional gate. The government starts talking about investigating the awakened, the rare people who may resist zombification. So Kang keeps building while everyone else argues over what is coming. Back in the real world, Kang buys commercial-grade tools because weak gear will not survive his schedule. On the way home, he scouts Kim Cheoljin's party hideout from a rooftop and takes photos before they notice him. Kang rents a motorcycle and an excavator before the wired arrive, then prepares green samples for more testing. Supplies, vehicles, poison, terrain. Our boy is turning panic into a checklist. Later, inside a dim meeting room, Kang follows the Kim Cheoljin thread into a deal with a suited contact. He did not place Survivor 1, the witness observer, near the president holding national security meetings by pure guesswork. So Kang pays for information with weapons and whatever leverage the contact wants. Kang sits with the new intel and worries the whole story may still be a bluff. If the Uedo shootout, the media control, and the president's circle all line up, then coincidence is starting to look very expensive. Elsewhere, Inhack, Kang's old contact who brings intel, stares into his monitor and tests the stranger reaching out through VR chat. He wants proof before he trusts the invitation, so he boots up the program and mutters, "Real deal or fake?" Inside VR chat, Inhack steps into a bare white room to test the stranger calling himself unknown. He thanks the host for the invite, but the duck avatar only tosses back a lazy hello. So Inhack asks why he was brought here at all. Unknown answers by raising one finger, and the whole room floods with a blinding summoned bird. Inhack flinches at the light, but the show works. Unknown can do things inside VR that a normal player should not touch. The key detail is that Sura zombies do not infect people like ordinary zombies. They drain nutrients instead. Kimbap, the loot stealer, takes that in, because this means the danger is not a spreading bite, but being consumed for fuel. Kim Cheoljin, the hat-wearing party member tied to Kang's earlier trouble, catches a bad number in the story and presses Kimbap hard. Kimbap snaps, "Shut up," but Kim Cheoljin keeps the pressure on and says he cannot call Survivor 1 right now. Then Kim Cheoljin lowers his hat and warns that something is about to happen. Kang catches the timing and realizes Survivor 1 being unreachable is the problem, because another hat-wearing man is already materializing somewhere else. At the office, the suited contact moves through reception with bodyguards around him, still acting like the room belongs to him. One guard confirms the order, another scarred guard refuses, and a woman finally gives permission to proceed. Back in his office cubicle, Kang looks worn down but stays on the keyboard. A red-eyed man grabs his hand hard enough to shock them both, and Kang thinks, did my dream just hand me the opening? The suited side searches the building and decides the last place left is overhead. Kang ducks into the restroom route, fills a bucket, and taps the stall wall to draw the target into the wrong corner. The suited contact expects a clean escape once the portal starts up. He even relaxes enough to radio in, saying it was too close. But an instant later, Kang is already behind him, with the green-tipped spear ready. The masked man tightens his grip on the glowing weapon, so the threat stops being a distant search and turns into an immediate attack. The suited contact looks around for veteran Kang, still thinking he has time to find the threat. Too late, Kang steps in behind him before he can finish turning. Kang smashes the captive down and cuts off the panic with one cold line. Who said you could turn around? Then he pins the man's head in place and asks how the trap feels, knife sliding free at his belt. Kang pins the suited contact by the wrist and drives the knife close enough to end the argument. The man sold out Survivor 1 and aimed my dream at innocent people, so Kang presses him for the names behind it. No mercy. Kang keeps the blade at the man's throat, even with tears running down his face. The suited contact has no room left to bargain, and Kang's question stays simple: who ordered the sellout? Before my dream can arrive, Kang escapes the PC cafe and gets home fast. He heads straight for his training yard, because the interrogation gave him a bigger problem than one captive. At home, Kang checks the man's ID first, with the gun and magazine already on the table. The photo and the data point to a player with heavy total playtime, so this guy may have a real skill once the system fully opens. The thing is, the awakened are the rare people who may resist zombification. Total playtime can also hint at a strong skill base, which brings us right back to Kang testing what kind of weapon still matters. Kang raises the suppressed pistol and thinks the game-like apocalypse is getting too close. Right now, he trusts one answer above every rumor: an awakener. He fires at the range, then confirms his training still carries over when the arrow lands dead center too. Clean hit. Our boy decides to test the pistol without a full magazine. Kang expects a clean weapon test. One pull, one result. But notifications flood in and Kang thinks, why so many? The test throws him off so badly he ends up suspended near the monitor, staring at the system window. Kang's next thought is pure alarm. What's going on? Later that night, Kang drives out at 22:30 and curses the time slipping away. He pushes the car toward the Huangshan Reservoir because the last sighting point's there. At the roadside forest, Kang parks before the police can lock everything down. This guy brings Dingo with him and states the plan plainly. They're hunting goblins. Goblin sightings matter because goblins roam, and one can vanish before the police even understand the pattern. A goblin roars from the rocks with a bone club, while hidden watchers stay low nearby. Kang trusts Dingo's nose more than the official search, so he asks if Dingo caught the goblin scent. Dingo barks back, grows sharper in the dark, and Kang charges after the fleeing wolf, but before the trail goes cold. In the rainy forest, the wolf bolts through the brush, so Kang pushes after it before the trail breaks. Dingo snaps at the darkness and barks once, warning him the goblins are close. Ahead of them, two police officers are already down, and goblins creep around the bodies. One officer groans through the blood, asking what the hell is happening, so Kang drops beside him and checks for a pulse. Kang finds the officer still breathing and exhales hard, alive. He moves fast, tending the wounded before the goblins come back for the finish. Then Kang checks the dead goblin nearby and spots bullet marks in its body. Kang thinks, why take the gun? Because the police had one, but someone or something walked away with it. The answer starts breathing over his shoulder. A crowned goblin steps in with a blade, and Kang realizes the forest casualty scene is still active. Nearby, goblins close in on fallen men, while one panicked fighter asks his captain if this is really the right call. The captain raises his hand and forces the order through. They have no choice. The captain tries to buy time with a slow skill, lifting stones around him while telling the others not to worry. Then, in a blink, the goblins read the setup and cut through the plan before it lands. Kang reads the broken formation and remembers the goblins reached Gaiason Mountain before. You see, roaming goblins do not just attack and leave. They learn routes, split packs, and punish slow humans. Which brings us right back to Kang forcing his shield up. This guy drives into the nearest goblin before the trapped fighters lose their nerve. He blocks the claw strike, answers with his weapon, and the goblin line finally staggers. One fighter drops to his knees, clutching his wrist, stunned that a mere goblin found the counter strategy. Another fighter freezes as 4 goblins surround them, and his only thought is what he can possibly do now. The shieldman braces for the next hit while a rune flashes behind him. Then an arrow punches into the goblin first, and the follow-up strike takes it down before it can finish the swing. Kang stands over the fallen goblin with his bat and shield, not celebrating yet. Kang mutters, "What is this?" because that arrow did not come from him. In the night forest, an unseen creature makes a sound, and Kang realizes the arrow came from somewhere he cannot see. He searches for the hidden shooter because someone else has entered the fight, and he does not know what that means for him. All he can ask is, where did the arrow suddenly fly from? Back at his setup, Kang grips the crossbow and goes over the trade that put it in his hands. He denies cheating anyone and insists he paid a fair price, but the weapon has already dragged him into a bigger hunt. Thanks to that deal, Kang confirms the Awakeners can matter in this game-like apocalypse. The forest fight leaves him with real intel, weakened goblins, and one new problem still hiding in the trees. That crossbow trade finally pays off. Kang has found weakened goblins instead of a clean escape. In the Sura forest, the rescued fighter admits he could not climb higher, so he ran into a smaller goblin force. Kang spots goblins above the cliff and moves before they regroup. Inside Kang's barrier setup, our boy grabs a soda can and shakes it hard. An orc takes a cheap hit to the head, then turns just as the can bursts over it. The spray drenches the orc, and Kang's trap buys him room. Back in the forest, Kang drives a spear through a goblin before it can warn the others. The next goblin sees the body drop in green blood, and the larger goblin starts barking orders at the smaller ones. Panic spreads first. Kang hears the screeching and reads the pack wrong for half a second. Did those two monsters just turn on each other? He commits anyway, cuts down the nearest goblin, and stands stands over it while the rest recoil. The Beast Warrior rushes in while Kang is still falling, and this guy has no clean angle. Kang forces his blade up because backing off means getting torn open, but a breath later, the Beast Warrior overpowers him and drives him straight back. Kang smashes into a tree and slides down bleeding. The Beast Warrior raises its weapon to finish him, and Kang's thought goes cold. If he passes out here, does he wake up at all? No time. Kang pulls the gun at close range and fires before the Beast Warrior can finish the swing. The shot snaps the creature back, so he keeps moving and fires again into the goblin rushing beside him. The next attacker jumps in from behind, but Kang steadies his grip and punches 2 rounds through its back. With the Beast Warrior finally open, Kang launches upward and takes the turn he nearly lost. Kang thinks, this time my turn. His blade comes down and the fight breaks in his favor. Kang stands over the Beast Warrior, breath-wrecked, and finally lets himself say, it's over. The system answers by handing him Terrain Sense, a skill that helps him read the ground and react before the forest kills him again. Clean win. Kang checks the loot and notices the held items have become real again. He opens the dimensional gate before anything else finds him, because this guy is bleeding too much to keep testing luck. Back at his base, Kang hits the floor wrapped in bandages, while Dingo licks his face like medical care includes harassment. The pouches land on the table, and Kang reaches for the revolver first, still thinking the gun carried that fight harder than his pride did. The sword impresses him too, but the forest problem keeps chewing at him. Wait, why do goblins have metal weapons? Kang watches the charging goblins again in his head and doubts they can forge that kind of gear on their own. See, their civilization should be too low for proper metalwork, so Kang starts looking for a warped answer. Did a mutation happen? The mutant goblin at the forge and the shade grape that improves night vision give him a trail, and that pulls us right back to Sura as Kang opens another gate and steps into the forest with his phone ready. Back in the present, a surgeon clutches his head over an operating table, showing the crisis has reached the people trying to treat it. Elsewhere, President Zhang Wanta calls a national security meeting over the survival life footage, and officials are told to listen to the awakened because this has become a national emergency. At the group room, Mi-kyung, the acquaintance learning to survive around Kang's warnings, asks what he plans to do next. Kang hears them ask for advice because he knows too much. And Kimbuk, the gamer ally who keeps chasing last hits, tries to follow the explanation before his face says he has fully lost the plot. Mi-kyung lays out the zombie spore theory, and one listener gets excited enough to grab his own chest. Kang stiffens as the room runs with it, and just like that, he admits the hypothesis is credible, then laughs bitterly and says, this is hopeless. Outside, Kang turns panic into errands and revises his supply list on the move. He adds a camping gear discount store, cuts the convenience store, and stops when someone waves him down with something for him. The next prep run starts now. The messenger gives Kang the pouch and tells him the exact address is inside. As she leaves, she shouts back to pay for the medicine, and Kang just stands there with another errand dropped into his lap. Kang walks off thinking this person moves like a storm. After the second meeting with Jo Suya, the hospital member tied to the survivor group, our boy stops wasting time and turns the new information into another supply run. Kang loads chainsaws, fuel, seeds, and anything useful into the storage facility he built from sandwich panels. The world still looks normal outside, so this guy keeps stacking boxes while everyone else keeps arguing. Elsewhere, the warning finally hits a control room, and the officials stop shouting long enough to panic. Yunjambi, the asteroid tied to zombification, is now confirmed on its way to Earth. At Gumcheon Port, Kang checks the harbor from above before moving in. Once he confirms no one is there, the kid slips into an abandoned building to prepare for the Russian vessel and the extra guns on board. The gun run sounds simple until Kang remembers the real problem. Here is the thing, zombie spores spread as particle-like pathogens, and exposure is not something ordinary people can just dodge. That brings us right back to Kang reaching for the container anyway. Kang triggers the setup, and the air around the container snaps alive. He glances back, dusts off his hands, and crouches beside the case with one thought in his head. High risk, high return. Then his phone updates the point rules from the Yunjambi beta arrival. Kang's eye glitches red, and he thinks, wait, the points change now? No time. The harbor should give Kang a clean window before anyone arrives. But one heartbeat later, the sea rises hard enough to throw a massive ship into the flooded city. Kang reaches the rooftop and says, holy sh*t. Kang scans the flooded streets and decides zombies are easier than this. Monsters too, honestly. What is he supposed to fight? A whole ship? Kang spots what he needs and forces himself back into motion before government agents can lock the area down. He grabs the CNC 200 gear, jumps onto the powered board, and shoots through the rain with his supplies still waiting to be secured. At the flooded harbor, Kang grips the board and tears across the water toward the ship. He thinks he has to finish everything before agents reach the site. No time. Beside the ship, Kang tests the rope and finds it strong enough. Everything still matches his plan, but the infected growth on the hull makes him check his own fingers. No prickling at all. Since his body gives him no warning, Kang climbs anyway. This guy decides good news is still good news, and boards the ship before the window closes. 2 zombies rush him the second he reaches the deck. Kang plants behind his shield and snaps at them for showing teeth before they bite. The infected expect a fresh meal, and Kang remembers needing several clean hits with an iron weapon before. He braces for that same ugly grind. Then, in a blink, his first heavy strike caves one in, and the system pays him 4 points. Kang warns himself not to repeat the orc mistake and get careless. Our boy crushes the next attacker, then stares down at the body as the truth lands in his own breath. 1 hit. More infected soldiers spill into the passage, so Kang stops giving them room. He cuts one down before it can grab him, and the system adds 2 more points. A bang cracks through the ship, ship, and Kang freezes under the helmet. Was that a gunshot? He punches through the zombie blocking the corridor and pushes toward the sound. Kang reaches the open room and decides the living come first. A blonde survivor kneels over a bloodied unconscious person and scrambles for a gun, so Kang has to move carefully. Inside the room, Kang checks the injured woman, then turns to the supplies before panic wastes the opening. He takes the pistol and the ammo case because rescue means nothing if the ship eats them next. The wounded survivor on the floor twitches with a bleeding head wound, proving someone is still alive but badly hurt. Kang climbs out through the hatch wearing a life vest and helmet, carrying a bag, so he has survival gear in hand for the next move. Outside the hatch, a masked body lies dead in a pool of purple blood. Kang now has survivors, weapons, and one more corpse, proving the disaster is moving faster than the city can understand. At the harbor, Kang cuts himself free near the dead body and gets the rescued survivor onto the inflatable boat. He looks across the water and thinks, what now? Another boat is already moving in. Kang drives hard away from the sinking ship with the survivor lying in the boat. Another boat races behind him, so every second matters if he wants to keep the rescue from turning into another disaster. The next day, proof of zombies hits the government, and the president calls emergency meetings in public view. The news keeps repeating the president's decisive response. Officials rush into rooms, and Kang reads the room fast. The president thinks almost exactly like him. On the phone, a nervous contact begs Kang to unblock caller ID first. Kang gives him one cold send-off, saying he wishes him the fortunes of war, and the call drops into bigger panic. Across the country, a broadcaster reports soldiers entering the station while Kang reads the next message. Power and internet are about to die. Wait, the grid too? Then the public announcement starts before anyone can prepare properly. Outside Kang's building, soldiers order citizens to take a few days of food and return to their families. People cry as the order repeats, but Kang lowers his head and refuses to chase old regrets. He tells himself the order would not have stopped the disaster anyway. Kang faces the collapse without dressing it up. He says he is not a hero, just an ordinary person, so our boy chooses preparation over saving everyone. That is his line. Later, at Kang's shelter zone, an excavator digs trenches along the barbed wire, while Kang stays longer in Sura, the game world he uses to farm supplies and power. In the forest, Dingo follows him until Kang spots something strange and blurts that it looks like a dried up grape. What is that doing here? Back at the shelter, Kang checks his laptop while Dingo sits beside him. He expects routine camera footage after all that work. But the next second, 3 beetle-like creatures appear near the wall opening, and Kang only gets out a stunned, huh? The beetles start raiding the place, with 2 carrying snack bags while 1 shakes behind them. Kang sees enough, decides he has guests today, and opens a portal straight under them. The snack bags did not ask for this. Inside Kang's shelter, the group gathers around a low table while a young woman kneels in apology, making the mishaps something they now have to answer for. Kang leans forward and reaches under the table as he speaks, taking charge while the spiky-haired man reacts in surprise. Yu Hyun, a new survivor brought into Kang's shelter circle, explains that he lost contact with his ex-wife when the line cut out and barricades went up on the highway. Suyeon, another survivor at the table, says her party stayed together and built a shelter in Citizens Park. The others stare at that claim because a shelter in the middle of public chaos sounds almost impossible. Kang bows his head over the table and admits that intel is better than expected. If the president is aiming for a controlled apocalypse, Kang needs people to understand the rules before the tutorial crushes them. That brings us right back to his next move. Kang stacks envelopes on the table, each packed with tutorial strategy and survival information. Ma-kyung flinches when someone moves toward her, but the guide is already out, and midnight is closing in. Kang stands in silence as memories of past battles and allies rush back, but he turns that fear into preparation before midnight. He checks the shelter's bulletproof glass and high-strength wooden door, then drives his body through 299 trembling push-ups so both the fortress and its leader are ready. The public broadcast keeps begging citizens to take food, water, and return home, but Kang already knows that order cannot stop Yoon Jung-bi. A smoking official talks about a dignified end while the meteor memory burns overhead, and Kang only files it away as one more failed answer. Kang gears up with Dingo barking at his side, then lays out water, medical supplies, and tools for the wire disease phase. This guy wants every item where his hand can find it. Once the streets stop being human, before the real run starts, Kang stress tests the ugly part. Close fighting against people who panic first and think later. A rooftop coward swings down at a smaller target, expecting fear. But an instant later, Kang gets inside, grabs him by the throat, and smashes him to the floor. The attacker hits the pavement, grinning through blood, still not scared enough to quit. Kang steps in with a bat and warns him not to hide on the rooftop, because if he turns zombie, Kang will turn him into points first. Clean threat. Kang hears movement outside and checks the city through binoculars. A plane passes overhead, papers scatter across the rooftop, and he reads the government warning with a tight face before crushing it in his fist. Kang thinks, does that mean they are still trying to control this? The answer does not change his job, so Kang walks out geared with knives and asks himself if it is time to get ready again. At the motorcycle, he checks the loaded trailer, the gas cylinders, and the route he memorized for farming points. Is this enough before the wire disease hits? Outside in the city after midnight, the collapse is already eating people alive. A survivor on the ground tries to speak, another screams over a bitten arm, and zombies crawl over the fallen while Kang rides past on his motorcycle. Zombies rush a man in a white shirt, and Kang finally understands why the family homes turned into traps. Most people spent their last moments with family, so whole apartments now pound out windows together. Kang checks the mirror and wonders if anyone out here stayed human. The answer can wait because the kid has a route to clear, so he tears down the empty street and pries open the pharmacy grate for medicine. Inside the pharmacy, Kang smashes through the reinforced entrance and stops wasting time on doors. He pulls supplies toward him with his ability, then sprints the aisles for masks and medicine before the infected crowd catches up. Kang thinks he can skip pointless fights by yanking the shelves clean from a distance. Wait, did that just land on something alive? The falling bottles crash onto a wolf below, and our boy's quiet loot run gets loud fast. Kang checks his watch in front of the stripped shelves, trying to decide whether the medicine run is finished. Then a bright light flares below him, and his own "or so I thought" makes it clear the pharmacy raid is not over yet. Out on the street, Kang switches to heavier gear and tests the infected from behind a helmet and tank rig. You see, the game's patch once weakened their tracking of living bodies, so he wants to know if real life follows the same rule. The infected still find him, which drags us straight back to the street fight. A pack of infected floods the corridor, so Kang stops treating this like clean farming. He pushes through the first wave with his canister gear, then plants himself in their path before they can spill farther into the building. The front infected lunges, and Kang answers with brutal tools instead of fancy moves. One swing breaks the rush, and the next strike drops the infected under him. Kang expects the crushed infected to stay down. It should be done, but one heartbeat later, the infected swings anyway, and Kang's cheek takes the hit before he whips the next attacker across the face. Kang stands over the body with blood on his weapon, and the system pays him 2 points. He thinks, is real-life difficulty actually lower than before? The answer is ugly but useful. At the alley mouth, Kang remembers the standard tactic. Lure them in, split them up, kill them one by one. This guy starts setting the hose device anyway, because the street is too packed for clean textbook work. The infected rush him in the rain, and Kang braces behind the round shield. He warns them in advance that he is done playing careful, then spins into the first opening and takes the lead attacker's head back. The infected recoil from Kang's hit, but he does not give them space to recover. Shield up, spear tool forward, our boy drives straight through the pack and drops the closest one before it can claw him open. Clean hit. The street fight turns messy, so Kang stops trying to make it pretty. He skids in, launches over the last infected, and buries the strike downward until the body stops moving. Kang stands over the dead and admits in his head that it was fun. Then he loads up, rides out with the trailer, and keeps moving before the noise pulls more infected toward him. At the storage room, Kang reaches the door and thinks, am I one step too late? Bodies already cover the street, but the blue duffel bag beside them still holds firearms, ammo, and walkie-talkies, so this guy takes the weapons and leaves the dead behind. Back on the street, zombies start drifting toward every sound, and Kang sees people making the same survival guess he made. Lure, loot, run. He grabs what he can from the broken crate, checks his level 6 status, and confirms the killing has pushed his points to 105. Near the busted gate, Kang kneels beside Dingo with a golden apple in hand and realizes the dimensional gate is broken. Wait, did the exit fail already? He triggers the gate power anyway, because staying here traps both of them in the open. That rush pulls in human trouble next. Kimbap, the gamer from Kang's old group, tears after him on a motorcycle with another armed survivor and screams, "You bastard!" They have been hunting Kang, and now the apocalypse has given them weapons, points, and a reason to stop pretending. Kimbap expects a cornered target, especially when his partner pushes the attack and Kang has the broken gate behind him. But Kang detonates forward, kicks through the opening, and sprints out before their ambush can close. Rough timing for a revenge speech. Kimbap steadies himself with the crossbow, while the other survivor grips the shotgun and bat, but their target is already gone. Kimbap whips around and snaps, "Where did he go?" Then Kimbap freezes as the real question hits him. In this new world, is it actually okay to kill someone for points? Before he can answer himself, a hand shoots in from behind and the human fight starts for real. Back inside the broken gate fight, Kang has escaped the monster trap, but the real danger is now people killing for points. When the blonde attacker grabs Inak, the old contact who brought Kang intel, Kang hears the one word that changes the fight. The guy asks if Inak is an awakener. The thing is, awakened are the rare people who might resist zombification, so every desperate survivor wants to know who has that edge. The blonde attacker thinks he has found easy prey, and Inak buckles under the hit. But a breath later, Kang catches the opening and turns the ambush back on him. Kang leans toward Inhak, admits he was right, and thanks him for clearing his head. But before that clarity can settle, someone grabs Seongho's head from behind, turning the moment into an immediate threat. Kang's grip tightens as he thinks he only refused to admit what this world already became. The system rewards the kill with 50 points, and our boy finally stops treating murderers like normal survivors. Inhak gets called out as a crybaby, while the infected close in around the bat carrier. So Kang warns him, "Watch your back. The fight is not clean anymore. It is people, infected, and panic all stacked in one room." Kang stares into the red sky and settles on the people he can kill without hesitation, the ones who already deserve to die in the apocalypse. One murderer raises a knife with a grin, and Kang remembers why the system had to start judging intent at all. The old rules try to punish players who killed with good excuses and rotten motives. The system starts watching from that point on, then stamps the killer with the words, "You are a murderer." The system checks guilt, then lists the real reasons people murder: points, stronger stats, and stolen unique skills. Kang sees the knife wielder grinning and asks himself, if the system can judge motive, how many killers are hiding behind survival? The murderer laughs and opens Deathfield, trying to turn the ruined city into his private execution zone. Across the red barrier, the system toys with what skill to hand Kang, and even its choices sound unhinged for a death trial. Kang answers answers before the murderer can enjoy it, and the hit breaks the man's rhythm. A bloodied mace lies among the bodies, the blonde attacker is dead, and Kang crouches over the corpses while another figure watches from the dark. That dead attacker at Kang's feet finally pulls more armed humans into Kang's path. Kang strips the fallen man for the corded pistol, throws it through his portal, and orders close the gate. The weapon is gone before anyone else can grab it. On the ground outside, Kang lands near a building boxed in by zombies. The survivors inside keep staring at the horde and wondering how long it will camp there. But another armed group is already watching them through a scope. Inside the warehouse, Mi-kyung, Kang's cautious acquaintance from before, stands with the defenders as guns and bats come up. The armed leader tells Kang's side to leave while he is still asking nicely, and Kang snaps back because even this guy should know that threat is stupid right now. What, he thinks, is he planning to shoot through a zombie siege? The gunman expects Kang to hesitate because they are human, but an instant later, Kang fires first and reminds them his old specialty in Sura was shooting people. The gunman takes the hit in the shoulder, and the whole doorway loses its nerve. Kang grins beside Mi-kyung and weighs the ugly question out loud. Shoot humans or let them shoot first? In the apocalypse, he calls it survival of the fittest, then scolds the men for ignoring his zombie warning. A weapon slams into another in a violent clash, so the standoff stops being talk and turns into a fight. The survivors break and run through the rubble, one yelling, "Guys, run!" Kang watches them through the scope, then lets them go for now. If they meet alive someday, this guy thinks he should give them something. After the warehouse fight, Kang shifts from killing threats to feeding his escape plan. Dingo waits scared at the portal, so Kang calls him by name and starts hauling fuel cans through the parking lot. Supplies first, the next stop is a wrecked convenience store, the kind of place survivors raid because food is easy to grab. Here's the thing, the apocalypse turns simple stores into traps, because hungry people rush in and infected bodies follow the noise. That brings us right back to Kang asking himself, is this gear enough? Kang checks the online shop, stocks up on blades and ranged weapons, then sends his next throw with one sharp command. Go! The zombies tear into meat and snarl around him, but Dingo darts through the mess before their hands can close. One onlooker can only breathe out, wow. Back in the burning corridor, Kang keeps the zombies chasing him so the others can move. A helmeted survivor cuts down a leaping wolf, but the dead keep pushing through the smoke. No clean exit yet. The fire jumps at their feet, and the group panics hard. Kang needs storage that moves faster than terrified people, so the system answers with dimensional slot. That changes the packing problem into a grab and vanish problem. Outside in the collapsing street, Kang rides through the barricades because the buildings are about to come down. A falling survivor drifts into danger, so our boy reaches out and breaks the bike with the slot's pull before the crash takes them both. Kang checks every layer of gear, from the UHM WPE helmet to the stab-proof vest. He taps the bag full of tools and canisters, then asks Dingo how he looks. The answer does not matter much, because the visor drops anyway. Then the plague spreads through the wind. Kang watches bodies warp and asks himself, wait, it travels through air too? See, the metal plague from the game eats through objects, so armor alone cannot save him. Which brings us right back to the device in his hand. Kang grips the orb and gives the order, open portal. The city answers with breaking steel and falling concrete as the metal plague chews through the streets. The road behind him is gone. A portal opens to Sura, the game world where forests and monsters run on different rules. The route should be his clean escape. And just like that, an explosion slams near Kang, and this guy freezes with sweat on his face. Kang checks the golden item and breathes out that it survived. Then his eye hardens, and he shuts down the risky option with one word: no. If the portal-linked city is this unstable, he steps in carefully instead of trusting luck. Inside the ruined city now, Kang finds the small black beetle swarm hauling goods toward a fortified door. He crouches near their wooden cargo and thinks, why are they this organized? The kid snaps his fingers, the beetles gather around him, and he clears his throat like he is about to negotiate with tiny warehouse staff. Inside the ruined city, Kang raises one finger and tries to boss the black beetle swarm around. Then he sees the little red leader scratch a shape into the dirt. Wait, it can negotiate? Kang checks his torn glove, and the red black beetle plants its stick like it is filing a complaint. The swarm gathers behind it, so our boy lowers his hand and offers a deal instead of force. The red black beetle slashes his hand, panics, and squeaks an apology. Kang barely gets time to react before the system confirms he has commanded the swarm, and the boss black beetle asks for a contract. Kang hovers over the choice, thinking if this works, he gets workers who can move through the ruined city. He accepts, and the red black beetle pops up beside him as his possessed swarm boss, tiny, armed, and already dramatic. The swarm starts chirping for payment, so Kang lifts a snack pack and calls it a signing bonus. The black beetles grab the food and scatter, suddenly very busy with their mouths. Kang shouts after them not to eat and run, because they still owe him goods. When they keep fleeing, this guy threatens to ignore the apocalypse and chase them down himself. Back at the shelter, Kang opens the files and finds them packed with game media. One workout video makes him fold his arms and go quiet, while Mi-kyung notices his reaction and pauses with her pen. No one asks twice. Kang shifts back into gear because the experiments matter more than the awkward files. He selects the items marked as his next test, and the shop produces a potion and gem right on the table. Kang stares at the items and thinks, so purchased goods really appear here too? If the game rule still works, he triggers the storage ability and floating cubes open in front of him. Kang realizes the cubes can replace the weapon stashes he planned near the portal. The storage limit fills fast, but even that is enough to change how he moves supplies for the next run. Before leaving the shelter, Kang tells Dingo to guard the house. The dog stays behind, and Kang heads back out with his gear set for another test. Back outside in the ruined streets, the darkness swallows his usual scouting tricks, so Kang switches to slot 3. He expects the skill to cover the gap. Then, in a blink, it fails him. Kang finds 4 shadowed figures gathered in the wrecked street as a burst of light tears through the area. He snaps a hand to his helmet because this is no empty ruin now. He has just stumbled onto another threat before he can get his bearings. In the ruined street, zombies spill through the wreckage in loose packs, and Kang watches them without wasting breath. Our boy cuts down the first one that gets close, already checking the crowd for a path to Mi-kyung. Kang shoulders the spiked weapon and tightens his grip, annoyed that the city keeps handing him the same job. He thinks, how many did the boss pull in? Then he moves. Kang smashes through the window because going around costs too much time. He mutters that even if he wanted to avoid zombies, he will be seeing their ugly faces until he is sick of them. And then this guy kicks straight into the swarm. The simple plan is ugly, but it works. Option 1 is killing zombies. Kang keeps swinging, keeps cutting, and keeps forcing open a lane through the bodies. Too many. Kang expects the horde to break once enough of them drop. The nearest survivors start stammering as the street seems to open for him, but a breath later, the wall of zombies closes again and stretches far past him. So Kang stops treating this like cleanup and starts forcing his way through. He carves into the encroaching wall, smashing one zombie's head and driving his blade through another at close range. But the horde keeps reaching in, and every step costs him another fight. Kang catches himself on the slanted debris, but the shadowed attacker is already looming behind him with a weapon. He throws up a hand sign and meets the rush at point-blank range, because one missed beat here leaves him no room to defend himself. The fleeing crowd draws the next wave, and Kang charges after them because leaving survivors there could bury Mi-kyung with everyone else. He pushes through the wreckage toward the source, following the boss trail deeper into the city. Then the scan marks the area ahead, and a bloodied zombie roars over a fallen infected body. Kang sees the shade grape warning and pushes harder through the rain. Its effect is about to expire, so our boy needs distance before the boss cycle catches up to him. He drops into the wreckage and finally lets himself breathe, thinking he is safe until the boss respawns. Then his stomach turns, and the helmeted survivor act almost ends in a bucket. Rough landing. Kang spots the discarded gear and freezes. Wait, who made it here before him? Mi-kyung pulls off her helmet, sees Kang alive, and can barely get his name out. Kang grabs Mi-kyung and holds on like the whole ruined street can wait. She is alive, and he confirms it in one tired breath. So the search that dragged him through the infected finally pays off. The survivors start yelling over what happened, and Kang sits down with his head in his hand. He pieces it together fast. While running, they ended up here, and the person feeding them info used it badly enough to pull everyone into danger. Kang looks at the mess and thinks the guide acted like a non-awakener in the worst possible moment. A shaken survivor says he got dragged into it, and nobody in the group sounds proud of how they arrived. The clue comes from Kimbap, the gamer whose old videos Kang keeps squeezing for survival data. In that video, Kimbap says clustered zombies scatter after the boss dies, while Gimbap Lover, a video commenter, is busy telling people to like and subscribe. Mi-kyung asks when the enhanced zombie appears, and Kang answers that it is soon. So he opens the backpack, checks the supplies, and steps back into the hunt before the next wave finds them first. Kang tells the group he will handle the enhanced zombie himself, but the enemy has trait sealing, and that hits the one thing awakened people depend on most. Kang realizes trait sealing is not strange here, but it is outside his game knowledge. Sura had no traits, so it had no monsters that could seal them. Since his usual information has a blind spot, he opens his glowing storage box and turns to the bow and blade inside. Kang pulls gear from storage and chooses tools that still work even if his trait gets sealed. This guy handles the blade, grabs the slingshot-like weapon, and keeps moving because Mi-kyung is not the only one depending on him now. Kang looks down at the enhanced zombie and thinks, what can he do if he is not alone? He raises the flare, aims for the next opening, and screams as he fires. But the next second, the zombie answers the bait and calls the swarm straight toward the signal. Kang sprints along the roof with the flare burning in his hand, pulling the swarm away from the others. Below him, survivors stumble through the broken streets, while pale zombies chase the light. Kang knows the enhanced zombie can seal traits, so he fights with plain weapons first. He draws the bow through a ruined window, then drops in with the handgun before the boss can settle on one target. The first cut bites into the enhanced zombie, but the thing stays upright and snarls back at him. Kang grips the spiked blade and mutters, well fine. For his first real boss hunt, Kang commits before the swarm closes in. He dives off the building and smashes the enhanced zombie through the rubble. Kang raises the spiked weapon and brings it down with enough force to slam the boss into the ground. Then he drives the blade into its head at close range, turning the hunt from a dangerous fight into a kill. Kang stands over the mutant and checks the corpse, already expecting the system to hide one more problem. Then he spots a dropped item and thinks, wait, the boss dropped something? Mi-kyung rushes back to Kang after the trait seal breaks, shaken but moving on her own again. She tells him she shook off the control and came back, so the boss losing its seal frees the people it had been holding. Mi-kyung offers Kang the item from the fight, but he stops her hand before she can pass it over. Our boy says he barely did anything and should not take it, yet the strap still ends up tied on his wrist. A hard slap flash-like impact hits near the hideout and leaves a cracked wall behind, killing the brief calm after the seal breaks. A teammate calls Kang over, and Mi-kyung answers from beside the damage as they check how badly the place was hit. Kang reaches Mi-kyung first and pats her cheek until she focuses again. Small thing, but with the walls breaking and the seal fresh in her head, she needs to know he is still right there. The group starts comparing what actually worked, and one teammate says nothing unusual came up except something tied to the Ebony Club. Kang catches the gap and asks the real question: did anyone gain points without killing monsters? The light-haired teammate confirms it happened and starts to explain the exact case. Kang thinks points from something besides kills, that changes how they farm strength before the apocalypse fully locks in. That question makes the room turn on Kang instead. A teammate grabs his collar and demands, "What's your trait?" The teammate repeats Kang's own warning back at him. The system gave everyone a trait the moment the tutorial started. Kang freezes for a beat because hiding his real trait now means deciding how much trust this group has earned. Kang grins and lets power crackle around him, but his head is already running the math. If the rules can flip this easily, what else from his old survival knowledge can fail? So Kang gives them the safer answer first. He claims his trait is physical enhancement, a boost to strength and agility, and Mi-kyung follows his lead by admitting her trait is blink. But Kang does not hand over the real card. He thinks if he reveals it now, these three might look at him with resentment or jealousy instead of trust. So this guy gets shameless and parks the truth behind a cleaner lie. Attack prediction. The info he shared before D-Day already helped them open the shop and auction window, so Kang decides that gamble paid off. Then the group turns the question back on him and asks Kang's level. The sudden pressure makes the table go quiet, and one teammate folds fast, stammering that he cannot say it. Kang lets the silence breathe. Instead of forcing a confession, he says everyone has things they do not want to talk about, big or small, and the room finally eases up. The mood shifts into training, because Kang needs them useful, not perfectly honest. A startled teammate moves wrong, Kang catches his wrist and reminds him the level gap will close once he gets real experience. A masked man raises his gloved hand to hit the frightened woman, putting her directly in danger, but the next instant he crashes to the floor instead, turning the threat from her being cornered to him being down. Back outside at the fortress, the weather turns wrong. Kang stands in heavy snow and thinks reality is still burning hot, so why is this place freezing now? That question sends him straight back to work. Our boy swings the tool through the snow because the stockpiled supplies are already in storage, and the base still needs protection. Then Kang sees the damaged defenses near the frozen wire and realizes how close he came to losing the whole setup. He planned to dig the moat later, but later is getting expensive. So Kang resets the plan under the open sky. First organize the current situation, then lock in the next moves before the world throws another problem at his front door. You see, the apocalypse does not care whether people feel ready. In Kang's old memory, survival is a bloody word on the ground, with someone stepping over the person who wrote it, which drags us straight back to why he overbuilds everything. In that future, Kang knows one bad route can surround him with goblins, zombies, wolves, and worse. So now he plans for being alone, boxed in, and running out of time before it ever happens. His answer is gears, skills, and backup stacked before the collapse fully opens. Helmet, gloves, sword, boots, bombs, healing items, and ability slots all become part of the same survival plan. Back at Kang's safe house, our boy has power, gear, and one ugly reminder: the second apocalypse still does not wait for him. In Sura, Kang breaks the purple target apart and stands over the giant corpse. Weapon up, one more win banked before reality gets worse. Inside the safe house, Kang sits with old photos, a firework poster, the green wristband, and his map. Mi-kyung calls for him, worrying that reality keeps adding new variables, and Kang thinks about the old world where no place stayed zombie-free. Kang rubs his chin and sweats through the next question: what does he do first? He answers himself at the planning table, because the goal has not changed. Survive on his terms. He reaches for the green wristband, pulls on gloves, and takes off his watch. Kang is done staring at the problem. He is switching from planning to work mode because the next step needs action, not more guessing. Kang pulls Mi-kyung, In-hak, and Kimba into the bigger picture because one bunker still needs hands, roles, and people who can move when he is busy. Then the list hits him all at once, and Kang grips his head like the chores are fighting back. Too much? At the doorway, a sudden noise snaps Kang out of planning, so this guy checks the weapon rack before stepping into danger. Rifles, bows, pistols, anything useful stays close now. Outside the safe house, the sky turns ugly, and Kang hears someone complaining about dealing with trash again. He follows the sound and finds an intruder over a fallen delivery worker with water jugs spilled around him. The intruder strikes the delivery worker in the neck, then jerks his head when Kang closes in. Kang's bad feeling pays off the worst way, and he thinks guests already. Kang arms a lit Molotov and watches the street instead of charging blind. When he spots more movement, he says the simple part out loud: there are guests. Kim Cheol-jun, the party member who becomes a direct threat here, swings his spiked weapon and stammers at Kang for being outside. Kang answers that he came out the back to farm, but his eyes stay on the ambush, not the excuse. Kim Cheol-jun tries to rattle him, hinting that Kang never considered the information around In-hak. Kang cuts past the bait because the leak already helped him change plans. Kang decides the fireworks can wait, and he tells Kim Cheol-jun he is raiding the hideout first. Kim Cheol-jun's grin snaps into outrage, like Kang has skipped every step of the script. Kim Cheol-jun's trap suddenly has a new danger in it. A young man in an orange jacket and blue cap raises a spiked weapon behind the wary boy in the rain. Kim Cheol-jun goes wide-eyed, because the attack is now coming from close behind. A fanged creature lunges through the rain, slamming the ground hard enough to split the street. Kim Cheol-jun panics at the name Creeper, and Kang bolts bolts while the ambush turns into a monster problem. As Kang sprints down the rainy street, Kim Chul-jun screams after him and realizes the raid has slipped out of his hands. The kid does not stop to argue. He has a safe house to protect. Kim Chul-jun's men chase Kang through the rain, shouting for someone to catch him before he slips away. Kang and Mi-kyung cut off the easy path, drop from above, and smash through the first blocker. They keep moving. The ambush breaks into a scramble, so Kang and Mi-kyung hit the ground running while weapons scatter behind them. A monster tears into another survivor nearby, and Kang keeps one eye on it as he runs. How many are already loose? With enemies spreading through the street, Kang splits the road fast and sends Mi-kyung left while he takes the right. Mi-kyung answers, but her voice shakes because the next scream comes from close by. A woman cries for her brother. A survivor begs Kang for help as a skeleton closes in, and Kang chooses the fastest answer he has. The street erupts, the skeleton gets swallowed in the blast, and one of Kim Chul-jun's men is thrown through the wreckage. A shocked survivor curses and asks what this even is. The spider-like monster crawls over Kang while he braces under it, and for a second it has the angle. It should finish him there. But one heartbeat later, Kang drives a punch into its body and forces it back bleeding. The spider refuses to drop, hanging over Kang again with blood running from its mouth. Kang looks up through the rain and checks the distance. Can he end it before it reaches him again? Kang pulls the shotgun up because the wounded creature gives him a clean line. He fires again and again, using the blast to keep it off the fallen body. The monster finally stops moving. The system answers the kill first, raising Kang to level 12 and giving him terrain detection. Then Kang stands over the body and thinks killing still counts even when he does it through the mess around him. No clean hands here. Kang bags the corpse and anything useful before the street fills again. Our boy leaves 2 bodies behind and shoulders the load because the safe house still needs materials more than comfort. The raid is over for him. Over near Gwangali, Kang and Dingo, his route-finding dog, search through stacked supplies. Kang finds a huge round object, stops long enough to mutter that it is big, and immediately has to move when another fanged creature drops in. Dingo, the smart dog, stays at his side as Kang uses the wall for cover and prepares for the next grab. That dirty promise from the rooftop comes due now. Kang leaves the bodies where they fell, and the rooftop group finally sees what his preparation really looks like up close. One of them bends over sick while Dingo stays with Kang, because the fight is over and the cleanup starts. Kang jumps down with a sharp grunt and dumps 2 more bodies into the black sludge. The corpses sink into storage instead of rotting in the street, so our boy walks away with materials and one less trail behind him. A sound near the portal snaps Kang's head around, and he checks the goods stacked beside it before moving on. Wait, something followed him here? He doesn't wait to find out. Kang steps through the portal into the snowy forest, using the safe route he and Dingo already mapped. Back at the shelter, he stacks homemade fuel bottles and immediately thinks one stray spark could turn the whole place into a fire trap. The shelter does not need indoor fireworks. Kang catches himself on the notepad, rattled by how close that mistake comes. So this guy backs off from the fuel stash, walks the corridor, and puts his hands back on the safer job, digging defenses. The pit work nearly wrecks him, and Kang climbs out swearing he is never doing that again. Then the frozen barrier finally gives, and the ice walls collapse around the trench. Done. With the brutal cold easing, Kang finally feels weather instead of punishment. Then the forest answers by throwing him through a violent current, hard enough to rip the breath out of him. Kang smiles at something he hears, but the real shift is the alert creature and the firearm rule behind it. Guns are supposed to be late-game weapons, locked behind the wire disease, so any firearm appearing this early changes what kind of danger he can answer. The beast hears something and bolts before Kang can settle the shot. Kang snaps his eyes after it because a fleeing target can still ruin the whole route. Dingo gets the head pat first because he did the hard part by finding the best path. Kang checks the rifle and his watch, wondering if his perception rising to 14 is why the timing feels cleaner. Did the watch just make this hunt possible? Kang hides behind a tree and watches the huge shaggy beast below. He switches to burst fire with only 15 bullets left, so every shot has to pay for itself. Kang lines up the rifle and runs the math cold. Even without wire disease weakened bullets, he needs at least 7 clean hits, and there is no way to resupply right now. So Kang changes the answer and raises the handgun instead. The beast should have time to charge through a bad shot. Then, in a blink, Kang fires past its guard and tags the head. The beast staggers bleeding, but it does not drop. Its eye locks back onto Kang, and the roar says the hunt just turned into a close-range problem. The huge creature bursts onto the path, forcing Kang out of the clean sniper plan. Our boy launches in first and taunts it from above, saying, "Where are you looking?" Kang's shots rain into the beast's back, but the bullets crumble faster than he expected. He thinks 7 shots for one beast, still the damage adds up, so he drags the fight down to his level. The beast glares through the wound, and Kang grins right back from the ground. Kang says eye level at last, then he calls it an owl-brained bastard, and the beast answers with a roar. Firearms should be late-game weapons after the wire disease passes, and right now Kang cannot replace a single bullet, so every shot has to buy him space, not finish the hunt, which brings us right back to the beast smashing through his trap smoke. The beast expects Kang to stay pinned after the blast. Kang should be out of clean options, but this guy lights the real trap and launches himself straight back in. Kang drives his hit into the wounded beast before it can reset. The impact knocks it back, and for the first time the roar turns ugly. Pain hits. The beast swings down to crush him, so Kang slips under the kill zone and takes the opening above its guard. Our boy rises with the finish already lined up. Watch this. Kang revs the chainsaw with an excited shout, turning the pause into another attack instead of backing off. The weapon is running again, so the fight stays in his hands. By the campfire, Kang bites into roasted meat before checking anything else. No speech, no victory pose, just food after almost getting torn apart. Dingo sits beside him and watches every bite with perfect timing. Kang keeps eating, but he knows that stare is a negotiation. Dingo barks for more, and Kang tells him he already ate. The protest continues anyway. Very fair legal work from Dingo. Kang pets the sleeping Dingo and starts thinking past dinner. If Dingo keeps growing smarter, could they run combo plays together? That idea sticks. Dingo gnaws away on the ground while Kang notices he has grown a little bigger. The hunt fed more than Kang's level, and Dingo is becoming part of the plan. Later at his screen, Kang opens the auction house, a player market tied to the survival system. Wait, the interface is already this close to the old game shop? Kang knows players will move fast if the rules match Sura. He checks the listings and finds an old ebony club already up for sale. Someone else has reached the market first, so Kang exhales and studies the price instead of celebrating. Across the same system, other hidden players gather behind their own screens. In survival life, anonymity is valuable, so the auction house becomes a place where names stay buried and weapons still move. In the auction house, players can hide behind custom looks and gear, so a sweet-looking avatar can carry a completely different person behind it. Kang watches the identity tricks and thinks, wait, they already built anonymity this deep? Kang taps into voice chat and gives a tiny greeting. Rabbit Princess, another hidden player on the line, immediately asks who he is, so Kang keeps his answer thin and lets the market name do the work. The moment Gimbap Plover, the video commenter tied to Kang's online trail, gets mentioned, Rabbit Princess snaps and shouts that he trusted Gimbap Plover for ages. Kang gets hit by that messy trust problem before the deal even starts. Lovely start. Kang knows revealing a trait is close to suicide in survival life, since a trait tells other players exactly how to kill you. But Rabbit Princess is desperate enough to bite anyway, and Kang thinks he really fell for it? Kang laughs his way into an explanation, but when Rabbit Princess asks for Kang's own trait, our boy shuts that door fast. He says he cannot share it right away, and Rabbit Princess jerks back like the deal just changed shape. Kang has not even told Mi-kyung, the hesitant acquaintance, everything, and she is one of the few people close enough to stand beside him right now. So when Rabbit Princess says he understands, Kang accepts the hesitation without handing over his neck. Rabbit Princess offers a magic metal ring instead, and the item is far beyond tutorial level loot. The chat realizes it too, with Gimbap Plover and the others blowing up over a strength boost this early, while Rabbit Princess calls it sincerity for trust. Elsewhere now, the same player network is already spilling into real survival fights. A bald survivor swings a pickaxe while a blonde survivor yells nearby, and the infected in front of them still refuses to go down. The survivors expect the infected to break once they pile on. One hand crushes its face, another fighter kicks in, and the group tries to finish it before it spreads panic. But an instant later, the infected catches the pressure and starts tearing the fight back open. One survivor grabs a wrist and drags a fallen man clear before the infected can swarm him. Then another half-dressed survivor hauls a body by the leg, backpack still on because nobody gets a clean rescue anymore. A zombie looks up as a paper airplane cuts over the ruined street. That tiny message becomes the next way hidden players reach each other without trusting open channels. In another room now, a player folds a letter into a paper airplane, then freezes when a system window pops beside him. He writes fast, throws it out the window, and asks himself if that should be enough. The system answers with a fresh interface, and the player remembers he also kept contact with another ally. So the paper message is not a cute trick anymore, it is a survival line. Back on the street, an infected man tries to block a runner, screaming that he has to reach Busan. The runner forces past him because his destination matters more than the fight in front of him. Kang shifts back to testing the stranger parts of the system, stretching his hands before checking a vine-covered entrance. This guy studies the place and asks if the claim about it is really true. Then Kang finds the crafted blade and the tiny creatures responsible for it. He stares at the work and asks if they actually made it themselves, because the system just handed him a new kind of production to exploit. At Kang's base, the tiny beetle crew crowd around the table and celebrate their new work. Kang offers the red one a gold coin, and the little boss answers with a proud little shout. The blade goes up like a trophy. Kang tests the curved item beside the crab-like creature, then thinks, wait, did this actually work? It does. Our boy now has creatures that can craft gear on command. The excitement breaks down fast when the small creatures huddle together and cry. Kang snaps them back to work and tells them to draw it properly over there. No tears on the production line. One creature gets knocked aside, but the rest keep moving, and Kang presses the test further with a spear. The red creature helps mark the map, pointing out their nest. Now Kang has a location to farm, not just a lucky workshop. Outside, an infected man groans as the spores crawl across his face. Kang catches the movement and strikes first, trying to end it before the street turns worse. The infected drops hard. The infected should stay down after Kang drives the weapon into him, but one heartbeat later, the zombie grabs Kang by the hood and forces him low. Kang cuts through the panic, slashes its head, and sends it flying back screaming. Kang locks on again, eyes sharp under the mask. He rushes in to finish it, but a sudden blast forces him to react instead. Too close. Under the overpass, Kang looks up startled, then reaches down for Dingo. Around the corpses, he checks the next problem and thinks, is Suyeon, the party member, still alive? That question pulls him away from simple farming and back toward people. Mi-kyung's update gives Kang a useful lead. People who contacted Awakeners are confirmed safe from zombie spores. Here's the thing, Awakeners Awakeners are rare survivors who may resist zombification, and contact with them now changes who can live near infected zones. That brings us right back to Kang choosing where survivors will gather. Kang enters the damaged building and heads for the bunker access. The location sits near Kwon Kyung-jun's bunker, with Kwon Kyung-jun being the Party C leader tied to that safe house. It is also near the government-built time shelter, so Kang calls, "Get up here, dingo." At the elevator shaft, Kang studies the rope dropping into the dark. Survivors will be drawn here for the shelters, so conflict can break out at any time. Kang climbs down with Dingo on him, heading straight into the next mess. Kang has the shelters mapped now, so he pushes deeper to keep survival on his terms. He descends the dark shaft with Dingo riding close, heading for the meeting point below. At the lower room, Kang knocks, and Suyeon snaps from inside that she already said she would come on time. Our boy opens with an awkward greeting, but her hand is already reaching for his head. Suyeon cracks the door and demands why Kang came all the way here. Kang says it is give and take, and he came to collect the medicine money. Then Suyeon calls him a murderer, and Kang actually stalls. A murderer? He asks what she means, because that rumor did not come from him. Inside Suyeon's dusty apartment, Kang and Dingo sit on the couch while she unloads everything at once. From the second Dingo settles in, Kang cannot even get a word in. Suyeon explains that the time shelter has become the center point, with 3 parties living in separate zones around it. That puts every survivor group close enough to trade, fight, or blame each other. Then she gets to the part that has everyone scared. A killer has appeared near the shelter, and bodies from multiple teams are already down. Kang runs the numbers in his head and lands on Kwon Kyung-jun as Party C's leader. Kwon Kyung-jun is moving without mind control. That would mean a squad is likely backing him instead. Kang keeps his face blank because Suyeon does not trust him yet. This guy decides to play dumb, then listens as she says one person from her team and one from Team B were killed. Kang still lacks enough proof, but the pattern keeps pointing toward Party C. He parks the theory for now and turns to what Suyeon can actually do. Kang asks if Suyeon's trait is healing, and she confirms it only handles minor wounds. The thing is, support-type Awakeners can help a party survive, but they struggle to hunt alone. That brings Kang right back to why Suyeon needs points more than sympathy. Suyeon admits she gets points for helping, but her level does not rise from it. Kang tests the gap between support and control, while her reaction says she understands the problem too well. Kang leans in and asks if Suyeon has a party meeting soon. She leans right back and says she thinks she is about to get confessed to instead. Bad timing, bold guess. Suyeon explains that this is why she got so angry when Kang knocked earlier. She was waiting for something personal, not another crisis at her door. Then Suyeon stops defending herself and defends her party. Suyeon says they aren't inherently bad people. Kang does not argue the point yet, because Mi-kyung steps in while he adjusts the gear on her wrist. Mi-kyung starts to speak, startled by what she has walked into. Then the glowing crystal comes out, and the room's attention shifts to the shop. If Suyeon has a glowstone, Kang knows she has already unlocked it. Mi-kyung studies Suyeon's glowstone, and realizes Suyeon already opened the shop. Kang smiles and tells her not to worry, because if Suyeon helps them, he plans to pay her back with interest. Elsewhere, the purple-suited man has Team A under watch. From behind his bodyguards, he receives a report that a female Team A member has left her residence for Eden Plaza, meaning her movements are already being tracked. In-hack, the scout from the earlier fights, hears the report and stiffens. He grips the chair hard, thinking Kang is somewhere in Busan, but he still has no idea where to catch him. The suited man pushes to catch Kang now, because hesitation leaves him fearing the unknown bastard will devour him someday. His attack stalls as that thought hits, and the hunt turns into survival. Kwon Kyung-jun's linked subordinates cut down zombies for him, expecting the kills to feed him points. And just like that, nothing comes in, and Kwon Kyung-jun snaps over the missing XP. Kwon Kyung-jun needs level 15 before the auction house meeting, or the other regional clan leaders will look down on him. His face tightens as he curses the deadline and the unknown player blocking his rise. His men drag and captured zombies, so Kwon Kyung-jun changes the method instead of slowing down. He orders the fire started, and the bound zombies burn while he counts the grind left ahead. Back with Kang, our boy lands and lays out 3 jobs instead of chasing rumors blind. First, find the time shelter's hidden locking mechanism. Second, keep capturing zombies the same way, because Kang needs bodies controlled before the city gets worse. And third, he reaches toward the system prompt and gives the real target. In-hack accepts Kang's order and moves toward the distant glowing blue beacon. That response turns Kang's plan from instructions into action, sending a subordinate toward the next objective. At Eden Plaza, Suyeon runs straight into the worst possible timing. A man charges over the rubble yelling her name, then drops to one knee with a rose, while danger is already moving around them. Suyeon crosses her arms and asks if this is really his best move. The man stammers about the murderer roaming around, and Suyeon now has a confession in front of her with a deathmatch closing in. Back at Eden Plaza, Suyeon jerks back as the rose guy doubles down on the worst confession timing. He insists he would be better as her boyfriend, and Suyeon can barely process it with a murderer hunt closing around them. Across the ruined city, Kang grabs his chest as his heartbeat turns wrong out of nowhere. Mi-kyung is beside him, and Kang thinks, why now of all times? Mi-kyung starts moving through the wreckage, but a shout cuts after her to wait. Kang curses under his breath and pushes forward, because the deathmatch has already dragged the killer into their path. The murderer walks in with a knife, and Mi-kyung freezes before her scream even makes it out. Kang's pulse pounds harder as the killer grins at him from the ruins. Bad timing got a knife. The deathmatch locks the ruined city under a barrier, trapping everyone inside with the murderer. Kang thinks, wait, the field already closed? Soo-yeon yanks the rose guy along and tells him to run and hide, but he panics because the rules are ugly. Once the deathmatch starts, the murderer cannot just leave, so hiding only buys seconds. Kang stays quiet and starts preparing the anti-iron plague flashlight, exactly like the manual says. If the tool works here, this guy gets one clean opening instead of a funeral. You see, a deathmatch forces the target and murderer to meet sooner or later. The shrinking death field leaves brief gaps in the barrier, and someone has to hold the murderer long enough to use one, which brings us right back to Mi-kyung bleeding on the ground. The murderer mocks Mi-kyung as foolish and raises the knife again, even pressing the blade near his own head like pain is part of the game. Mi-kyung reaches through her own blood while his footsteps close in. A survivor turns an alarm as the murderer launches Mi-kyung into the air and lifts his blade for the finish. She shuts her eyes and braces for the stomp. But a breath later, Kang is already there. He asks Mi-kyung, why close your eyes? Then he catches the killer's strike before it reaches her. The gray-haired killer braces as a huge beast lunges at him, so he blasts it back and tries to force the fight downward. Kang drops straight through the counterattack, and the killer has to give ground. Mi-kyung sits in the rubble with a hand on her chest, still alive but barely steady. Kang reaches for her, and her shock says enough before she can speak. Someone slams face first into the pavement, clawing at torn fabric near the hip as the deathmatch forces its rule back onto them. Everyone is being driven toward the murderer, so Kang keeps walking through the rubble because the encounter is unavoidable. The survivors erupt when Soo-yeon makes it to the ledge, because one wrong step leaves her trapped with the murderer. Kang catches her hand across the gap, and the cheering turns into stunned relief. She is out. On the rooftops between the ruined buildings, Kang's plan finally shows its teeth. Soo-yeon explains the sky bridge gives them a route, so they stop running in circles and aim for the one opening the deathmatch leaves behind. Below them, the gray-haired killer watches the courtyard with that ugly grin still fixed on his face. The death field starts shrinking, so the barrier opens for a breath, and Soo-yeon dives through while the dead grab for her heels. Kang already knows the catch. Someone has to stay behind and hold the killer. If nobody buys time, the whole escape plan breaks before Soo-yeon reaches safety, so our boy waits on the first floor with his shield ready. The gray-haired killer advances through the ruined structure with a grin, then looms over a fallen body and raises his weapon. He is not just showing off now, he is still attacking people who are already down, so anyone left in the room has to stop him fast. Kang expects the first opening to be enough, so he drives the killer back and lands low before the counter can pin him. The killer should lose rhythm here, but an instant later he bends around Kang's follow-up and forces the fight back into close range. Kang hammers the ground to break the killer's angle, then snaps his head up as the blade cuts in too close. He thinks, wait, why is he still speeding up? The killer exhales, twirls his knife, and acts calm enough to be annoying. Kang steadies his knife and reads the pattern instead of chasing the bait. See, the killer is under mind control, so fear and pain are not slowing him down. Which brings us right back to Kang, because the controlled body keeps getting stronger every exchange. The masked killer commits to a heavier rush, and Kang gets blasted forward before he can reset his shield. The killer raises the knife again, and Kang thinks, do I stall him or end this now? No clean answer. Kang guards up and admits the problem in one cold thought. The killer keeps getting stronger. Then the thought turns sharper. Kang thinks, should I just kill him? The killer knocks Kang through the rubble, chasing the order meant to raise the odds of killing Kwon Kyung-jun indirectly. Kang twists off the ground before the next cut lands, because getting trapped here hands the enemy exactly what he wants. Kang drops into a low stance and meets the next rush head-on, knife ready and shield forgotten for the moment. The ruined space erupts from the impact, and when the dust breaks, the killer is already behind him. Kang has no room left. Kang gets launched through the ruined hall, still gripping his knife. Mid-air, he grits his teeth and thinks the killer has an agility buff too. How long does that thing last? Kang needs the buff to run out, so he opens slot 1 and arms the next answer fast. The killer rushes in, expecting another clean hit, but the next second, Kang fires back and blasts him across the rubble. Soo-yeon shouts for Kang from the ledge, but he sends her to watch outside until his signal. He turns back to the doorway, where the controlled killer is waiting at full strength. Bad timing, very bad hallway. The killer storms through the smoke and starts tearing into Kang's defense. Kang braces hard and buys seconds, thinking he only needs a little more. Can the shield hold until that buff ends? Mi-kyung sees her chance and smashes the controlled man in the head. For one breath, she freezes and weighs the opening. Then she commits, pushes off, and runs. The death field erupts behind Mi-kyung, and bodies surge over the rubble after her. She sprints through reaching hands, tumbles near the edge, and drops through the gap before they can drag her back. Mi-kyung lands alive and realizes she really escaped the death field, but the relief barely lasts, because Kang is still trapped near the ruined dome. She clutches her head, terrified that every wasted second costs him. Kang gets the signal and answers while sprinting along the ledge. Our boy dives back in with his shield up, punches through the wreckage, and forces his way toward the killer again. The killer breaks upward through the debris, and Kang staggers back in shock. Wait, he can break through from below too? The controlled man rises through the smoke, still hunting him. Kang plants himself with a knife at his side as the killer tries to close the distance. The killer snarls that Kang will not get away. Kang answers by raising a handgun and taking the shot line first. first. That shot Kang lined up, he uses it to buy Suyeon breathing room. Kang taunts the pain-numb killer, then tells him to sleep for a few minutes and fires first. Suyeon claws out of the death field while trapped dead things climb after her from below. The barrier finally bursts and she crashes through it alive. Kang reaches Suyeon through the rubble and she stares at him in shock. How did he break through that field? Kang does not stop to explain because the murderer is still moving. In the ruined streets, Kang and Mi-kyung run before the killer catches up again. Kang tells her Sea Party's leader had controlled the murderer, but that control is probably gone now. The gray-haired killer stops in the ruins, drenched in blood with a bloodied knife at his side. He cannot even explain how he got here, which makes the danger worse because the armed murderer is still standing there. Kwon Kyung-jun broke his word, and the killer's rage snaps fully awake. The killer screams that Kwon forced him through hell, and he swears to settle the blood debt today. Back above the ruined city, Mi-kyung watches Kang prepare fireworks and asks if they are really necessary. Kang says that is the whole point, because noise pulls the killer straight to them. The killer charges in, and Kang spots the arrogance in him before the first strike lands. His pride survived the apocalypse in perfect condition. The guards expect their numbers to hold the line. The killer tears through them, and bodies scatter before they can even protect Kwon Kyung-jun. Then, in a blink, the fight flips. The killer is blasted backward, hits the ground dazed, and has to stop and figure out how he ended up there. Kang grips the bloodied knife and triggers the trap with one cold order. Kang says activate, death field. The killer is launched screaming into the air. He drops hard onto the sloped rooftop, and the chase turns ugly again. Kang and Mi-kyung move at once, because giving him even one clean breath could restart the slaughter. From a distance, an archer lines up a shot while Kwon Kyung-jun struggles to read Kang's trick. Kwon cannot brainwash the killer again, so he chooses the next best plan. Strip Kang of every skill and point if he can reach him. Kwon Kyung-jun still wants Kang's power, so he throws bodies at the gray-haired killer first. In his head, Kwon decides brainwashing is too risky now, but killing Kang and stealing his skills still sounds perfect to him. Kwon-suited men rush in on command and grab the gray-haired killer from both sides. For one breath, it looks like the ambush holds, but a breath later, the killer tears through them and keeps walking. Kwon's archers panic and fire anyway, but the arrows only slow the killer for a second. Kwon snaps at them to bring Molotovs, because distance is the only thing keeping him alive now. Kwon orders his men to block the killer even if they die. They obey, and yeah, Kwon asks for that with a straight face. One man steps up with a lit Molotov, grinning like fire will finally stop him. But the killer moves toward the burning bottle and reaches into the flames, showing even fire may not keep him back. Burned and barely upright, the gray-haired killer mutters that he does not know the meaning of mercy. Kwon twists the knife deeper and mocks the wife and child the killer lost on the first day the world ended. That name hits the wound. The killer answers with his blade, cuts through Kwon's taunt, and leaves him screaming in the fire. As the flames take him, the gray-haired killer stops fighting Kang and thanks him for ending the brainwashing. He dies with one last wish met, dignity intact. After the fight, Kang calls up to the archer on the rooftop because the shot came at the exact right time. The archer says it was a gut feeling, then raises a finger for silence before Kang can dig too hard. Later, away from the burned battlefield, Kang sinks into an office chair and lets the long day catch up for half a second. Too short, he is already arming himself again because the next job will not wait. In the forest operation, Kang watches his small beetle units below and thinks, can they really pull this off? Our boy sends one riding a drone over the terrain, testing the route before the raid begins. The drone drops low over a field packed with spike traps, and Kang gets his answer fast. If the goblin nest chases the bait, the forest itself becomes the kill zone. Back in his safe house, Kang has supplies, allies, and a plan, but one message still drags him back into people problems. He jolts awake, checks his phone, and sees Kyung-hoon, a senior figure pushing into his business, telling him to stop messaging Yoo Haeon. Kang crushes the message in his hand and mutters that Kyung-hoon has zero manners. Then Hyungjun, the party leader with survival documents, sends over an early survival walkthrough, and the chat immediately complains that Hyungjun's own party gets special treatment. Kang stares at the screen and thinks, maybe he should just kill him. The thought hits too hard, so he catches himself with one ugly question. Has he finally gone crazy too? He bites his thumb until it bleeds, forcing the anger back down. Not now. The argument still blows up face to face, with Kang and the other side shouting hard enough to poison the room. But Kang walks away, already deciding there will be a cleaner chance to kick them out later. Alone again, Kang stops feeding the anger and reaches for the system screen. The time is coming soon, so he tells himself to stay steady and handle the job in front of him. That job is the goblin nest, and our boy chooses it first because the nest can grow into a bigger problem if he leaves it alone. He locks in the operation and moves out before his temper can choose for him. In the forest, Kang looks down through the trees and asks if everyone is ready. Dingo, his enhanced dog companion, answers with one sharp bark as a goblin closes in with a spear. Kang also calls in the beetle units, because this raid needs more than one fighter swinging alone. 3 rider units climb onto beetle backs, and the nest is about to learn teamwork from insects. Kang opens with the trick he planned, a loud noise status attack to scramble the goblins before the real kill starts. The first goblin takes the hit and screams, and the nearby goblins panic as blood hits the dirt. For a second, the nest looks like it might still swarm him through numbers, but Kang cuts into the chaos even as Dingo takes a spear meant to slow the charge. Kang sees Dingo get tagged and snaps the order anyway, telling him to follow the plan. Dingo barks back, and this guy trusts the dog enough to trigger the next part instead of rushing in blind. Dingo tears through the forest and uses the terrain exactly how Kang set it up. He launches off the rock, draws the blast below him, and clears the way toward the deeper nest. Then the real problem problem steps out. A horned ogre backed by another ogre and a packed goblin horde in the ruined village. Kang raises his weapon from cover and the question changes fast. Can he thin them out before the ogres reach him? Kang draws, aims, and fires before the horde can settle. Two goblins drop with clean headshots and the front line finally breaks. The next strike sends more goblins flying while the horned monster watches its front line collapse. Then the huge creature flexes and turns, meaning the fight is shifting from scattered goblins to the ogre itself. Dingo keeps the goblins panicking with that awful screech, then drags one corpse back like he is collecting proof. Kang watches from the hill and thinks their numbers are finally thin. Perfect. The weakened goblins and vampiric humanoids still push downhill, so the nest tries to flood him with bodies. It should be ugly. But one heartbeat later, Kang opens his system panel, tightens his grip, and goes in first. Our boy cuts straight into the charge before they can recover from Dingo's noise. The front line breaks again, and the goblins lose the one thing they still had: numbers. Kang commits to the rush and tears through the nearest goblins before the pack can surround him. One goblin gets launched back, the rest scatter, and the nest's ambush turns into cleanup. When the smoke clears, Kang is still standing with a branch in hand among the remains. He turns to the beetles, suddenly proud, and asks if they saw that. The beetles answer with one happy cry, and Dingo follows as the raid moves on. The raid pays out better than Kang expected. Black coal, poison toads, and usable resources. Kang smirks and thinks this trip looked like a bust, but Sora keeps handing him weird tools. On the path back, Kang keeps testing the rules in his head. Sora is strange, sure, but he thinks reality is not any less strange. So what actually decides when zombies appear? Here's the thing, Kang knows zombies do not just spawn anywhere for no reason. Keepers and Bone Creeper appear at dawn, and enhanced zombies showed up under tutorial conditions. And that question brings us right back to the island. Will zombie waves even happen there? Kang also realizes the event rewards may have shifted. Speedrun and first kill rewards are on the table now, so this guy starts treating every mechanic like a trap and a payday at once. Back at the warehouse, Kang brings supplies through the portal and checks the feed and grains. Then he snaps into routine, gloves on, push-ups done, because a prepared body is one more wall between him and the apocalypse. Kyung-hoon's earlier note gets explained through a message. He forced it, and it was not meant as a real betrayal. Kang does not soften much, but he files the excuse away instead of exploding over it. At the auction house now, Kang eats while Dingo eats nearby, and Tagung, his chat contact there, checks his location. Kang answers with the bare minimum, auction house. Kang taps through the chat and hits the real problem fast. Without one-on-one conversation, he cannot quietly test people, trade cleanly, or lure out whoever is watching the ice market. Kang checks the system window and keeps his tests simple. To pull attention without risking much, he decides an ice pack is the cleanest bait. He registers the ice pack for points, expecting a small reaction from the auction house. The system starts ringing hard. Bad start. Kang sees the result and snaps, asking if these people know how hard lake ice is to drill out. Wait, they bought it that fast? Elsewhere, the ice user already has zombies moving under his orders. He lounges with a phone and tells them to do exactly what they know. The ice user's orders should let the zombies clean this up quietly. One fighter tears through the first few anyway. Then, in a blink, the horde swarms him, and his scream cuts through the mess. The ice user cools his cheek with an ice pack and curses under his breath. Then he lifts another bag of ice and starts wondering who made it first. He tests the thought out loud, an ice ability user or a creation type. His ice answers in his hand, so he decides to lure the seller in. Back at the auction house chat, a user calls himself Duckbutt Quack Quack on camera. Kang's trap is working, but the crowd is not exactly arriving with dignity. Kang reads the next message and finds people mocking his ice listing and gameplay clips. Is one of them the real ice seller, or just another loud mouth? He cuts through the noise and tells everyone he only needs the ice seller. When someone tries recruiting him, Kang shuts it down with a threat. The comments turn on each other fast, and Kang catches the pattern with a smirk. Strong against the weak, weak against the strong. Very brave typing. Then a comment warns him not to be surprised later, and another calls him fake for getting Tagung's phrasing wrong. Kang stares at the floating window because now the chat is testing him too. Tagung keeps moving through the auction house chat while someone suggests hitting a snack shop. Another contact says he is already on the way, but he is still up north and running late. At the office till now, Kang heads over to help Suyun, the party member, move. The chat problem waits because a party member asking for help comes first. Kang reaches the tall building and looks up. Suyun leans out, waves him in, and says they were just about to eat with chi something uni. Inside the office tell, Kang gives a low hum as someone reacts in flustered surprise. Then he stops ignoring the obvious problem and asks the injured man why he never mentioned the arm wound. While the man insists it does not matter. Kang checks the bandage and the lie falls apart fast. The blood has soaked through wrong, so Mikyung, the acquaintance who once hesitated around him, backs Kang up with one clean word: correct. Mikyung finally tells them what she saw. She says she was carrying large items to the rooftop when a scream cut through the building. Then she ran toward it. Mikyung reaches the source shaking because the injured man is already down. 3 people in hiking gear stand over him, and even Mikyung says the attack looks planned. Kang Sung-ho faces the 3 smirking attackers with a bloodied bar in his hand, tying him directly to the rooftop clash. Back in the room, he sits with that memory turning over, because the people involved are important in more than one way. In Hack, the scout who once brought Kang intel stays quiet while Kang clocks the people this fight could drag in. Mikyung is involved, and Suyun is close enough to get pulled under too. Bad timing. Mikyung presses harder and asks where they went, so Kang checks the base first. He asks if Doll is still there, but Inhak only blinks and asks if something happened. Kang gets his answer from the attention outside. The others are glaring at each other while using physical enhancements. Suyeon wants to move right away, but Kang reaches for her because rushing blind can cost them their fighters. Does she feel it too? Suyeon turns with that strange smile, and for a second it looks like Kang is too late to stop her. And just like that, he catches her wrist from behind and locks her down before the power around her can spill further. Inhei groans on the cracked ground, and the split beside the car shows how close this dispute came to turning into a real disaster. The fiery awakened member panics because leaving now guts their combat power, so he pushes forward while the others tense up behind him. Kang watches the flame build and thinks, wait, is this fear or a setup? Suyeon snaps that they should at least hear him out before calling it nonsense. The fiery member tries to start by forcing the physical enhancement down, but an instant later, Kang throws him back before the argument turns into another powered brawl. The guy lands hard, and Kang tells him to show basic manners first. Kyungkoon demands to know how any of this makes sense, but another member tries to pull him back toward Kang's plan. The brown-haired man shouts for the director as the muscular man raises a defensive gesture. Then he reaches toward an incoming hand, showing the argument is about to turn physical before anyone can settle it with words. Kang cuts through the noise and says party responsibility does not vanish just because everyone is scared. He reminds them that rules matter even more now, and that lands on the group harder than another threat. Suyeon and the others go quiet. Kang stands with his arms crossed while two companions keep staring at him. He thinks, why are those two looking at me now? Then one member points out that Kang still shares supplies and information without asking for anything back. The same member turns that point on the director and asks if the two of them have benefited Kang too. The director admits it, but pushes back with the harder question. Have the people he keeps contacting helped the party at all? That question freezes him. Kang reaches for a calmer ending before the split becomes permanent. He says this may be their last chance to part on good terms, and the wary looks around him say everyone hears the warning. No one likes it. The clash finally drains out, leaving one member sweating on the ground and Suyeon dazed nearby. One exhausted voice admits he cannot do that twice, and Kang moves on before pride starts the whole mess over again. Kimbap, the gamer who handles useful cleanup jobs, takes the next task while Mi-kyung claps and Kang watches. Kimbap says he has it handled, then immediately looks like he regrets hearing the details. Outside, the city answers with fire. Collapsed streets, wrecked cars, and people scattered through the rubble. The safe house argument is over, but the wider game is not waiting. This survival life game has always sold itself with one brutal rule. It is unforgiving, and Kang already knows the system loves changing details when people get comfortable. Which brings us right back to the burning city, where preparation is no longer theory. Far above Earth, something huge studies the planet in its hand. Kang has seen one apocalypse already, but even he thinks, wait, who is holding the board now? You see, Sura's rules never stay fixed once reality starts copying the game. Hobgoblins, ebony wolves, owlbears, werewolves, even purification items can vanish, change, or get added. Which brings us right back to Kang checking every old rule before it gets him killed. Kang narrows his eyes at the one setting he can still trust. Monsters arrive with events, and each event can open a new summoning point. He looks at the shadow looming over the water and thinks, what kind of designer calls this fair? Before the city burns, people still joke when they see upright figures outside. They think the shapes are human until the first zombie walks in smiling with dead eyes. Bad guess? Kang snaps awake from that memory and sits there shaking. Goblins are worse than zombies because zombies wander, but goblins hunt people on purpose. So Kang picks the spear for the next wave and trains until the target breaks apart. The clean hit shows he is preparing for the upcoming events with a weapon he can actually use. Back in the ruined city, Kang's group spots a tiger moving through the rubble. A scout stares too long through the binoculars, so a bigger survivor yanks his head down before the tiger notices them. The tiger tears into a zombie, and the group finally sees it is not just roaming. A survivor guesses it came from a zoo, while Mi-kyung watches the fight and keeps quiet. Kang grips his gear because wild animals are now part of the hunt too. When Kimbap checks if he is ready, our boy adjusts the axe on his back and moves. The plan nearly cracks when the muscular survivor shakes a scout by the collar for pushing too hard. Mi-kyung doubts herself for a second, then forces out that she will try anyway. Kang opens the floor for objections, but the group turns toward Mi-kyung instead. When they praise her like a real leader, she chooses the target cleanly, the tiger. Kang charges through the broken streets with Dingo, his sharp white dog companion, running at his side. Kang calls his name, Dingo, the smart dog, barks back, and projectiles rip past them through the rubble. Dingo rushes the beast like he can end it fast, but one heartbeat later, the sheep wolf smashes him out of the air, and Dingo hits the rubble hard. He gets back up, Dingo strikes back at the sheep creature, turning the attack into a real exchange instead of a one-sided beating. Dingo plants himself on the rubble after scattering the wolves, and Kang praises him with a quick, good job, Dingo. The sheep break and run, so the hunt finally swings their way, clean enough. Kang takes the next shot himself, aiming through the ruined street to stop the pack before it reaches the others. The bolt lands, but the creature stays up, and Kang grits out that he should have ended it in one strike. The wounded monsters rush him, so Kang pulls them through the broken street instead of wasting shots. He thinks, can Dingo keep driving them tighter? Dingo answers with a bark and forces the chase toward the target point. The lead wolf expects Kang to keep running, and it launches for his back. Kang braces with the knife, ready to catch it close. But the next second, the swarm around him reaches in first, and the fight turns into a trap at arm's length. Kang stops retreating and tears through the closest body before the pack can and bury him. He surges forward through the rain, using the opening Dingo made, and the monsters lose their clean chase. The nearby survivors can only stare as the line breaks. Mikyung and Dingo reach the fiery armed fighter as he hauls 2 sheep-like trophies. An onlooker blurts that the director is still amazing, but he waves off help and tells Kang to go ahead with Mikyung. That order almost ends the monster hunt, until Kang notices the armed group from the large camping supply store. Yoo Hyun, the survivor they protected before, was shot at by those same people, so recognition hits the group fast. The thugs lift their weapons like they still get a say, but Kang's stare drops the mood cold. Under the leader's orders, Kang backs off today, then warns them next time will not end this quietly. Back with the group overcooked meat, one person tries to smooth it over by saying everyone is fine, and they brought food. Kang remembers the hard rule for the apocalypse: when people turn dangerous, you kill them. No debate there. Mikyung, Inhak, and Kimba sit with Kang as the group pushes back on that fear. One of them says they still should not bow their heads to evil people, and Kang raises his cup with a calm smile, telling them to enjoy the meal. After dinner, the testing moves into a dark, ruined interior, where a crab-like creature comes crawling out. Kang hits it before it can settle in, and the blast leaves smaller crabs floating around a larger red one. Wait, did that setup actually work? The result shocks the group harder than the fight. They crowd around the table, asking where Kang even found rare minerals like emeralds, luminous stone, ignition stone, and black coal. Then mithril ore lands beside them, and the crafting possibilities get very real. That pile of rare ore finally turns into tools Kang can test. Tiny machine insects haul in another suitcase, and Kang stares at them like his inventory just grew legs. Then the gray worker creatures crowd him, and he blurts out, "Dwarves, right?" Kang starts testing the new gear before the apocalypse can steal the chance. The ring fires clean, the blade smashes through the target, and the watching group loses it over the performance. The group brings out the pepper bomb next, expecting another clean test. It detonates hard, tears through the wooden dummies, and Kang freezes at the blast. That was not mild seasoning. But a breath later, the red smoke rolls straight back over Kang. Before he can fully read the effect, a monster catches him and sends him flying. Our boy still comes up smirking, checking his lip instead of panicking. With the tools tested, Kang pushes into the ruined building with Dingo, his enhanced dog companion. Dingo's ears perk first, so Kang looks down and spots armed goblins climbing in through the wreckage. Trouble found them. The goblins rush in with crude weapons, but a red portal opens before the fight can stay simple. Kang looks into it and thinks, wait, is this the entrance under the city? He steps through with Dingo, and the ground drops into a broken red passage. Kang catches the rock wall and weighs the risk out loud, wondering if using his trait inside this place will tear something open. Dingo answers first, blasting a path through the small wolves until a portal forms around him. The otherworldly realm opens. Kang studies the orb and asks himself, are goblin lairs really built right under reality, just like Sura lore says? The thing is, Sura is the game world where these creature rules started making sense, so this lair matching the lore gives Kang a map instead of a mystery. That brings us right back to his gear. Kang drops the orb into storage, pulls out a perception watch and a luminous stone necklace, and loads himself for dungeon rules. If his trait lets him equip anything inside, goblins stop being a messy ambush and become a farm. The kid smiles, lights up the necklace, and heads in. Kang dives down the shaft and uses the luminous stone to blind the goblins waiting below. The first pack snarls at the sudden light, so our boy cuts through them before they can surround him. Easy opening. Deeper in the cave, 2 goblins rush him from a split path. Kang reads the trap and thinks, a fork already? He draws both blades and drops them together, muttering that this is one terrible predicament. The noise pulls in a larger swarm, and the goblins pile toward him with clubs raised. They expect numbers to pin him down, but an instant later, Kang turns their charge into free targets and sends the whole pack flying. Kang stops in the dust and listens for more movement before sheathing his weapon. When another wave closes in, he cuts a path through it and keeps moving through the tunnel. No wasted steps. Then Kang freezes near a candlelit chamber. Wait, why is there a weapon left here? A horned goblin steps out with a heavy club, and Kang tightens his grip before it can swing first. The horned goblin has the size advantage, so it tries to crush Kang head on. Kang refuses the push, carves through its guard, and leaves it dead with a hole blasted through its body. He takes the loaded crossbow beside it and checks the bolts for the next test. At the red portal, Kang shifts from clearing to scouting. He thinks, what does Hyungjun's party do inside a den? To check if Hyungjun's group is as aggressive as the rumors say, this guy steps through alone. Beyond the red portal, Hyungjun's party is already treating the den like a game lobby. Hyungjun, the party leader with survival documents, smirks and brags that 200 hours of Sura experience makes the goblins simple. Kang watches from the side, wary now. One nervous party member hesitates, then admits there may be another survivor base near the golf course by the Villa District. Hyungjun snaps at him for claiming game knowledge while missing that rumor. Kang now has a new group to track, and the portal scouting just got messier. Hyungjun clicks his tongue and drags his party back to the job. He says their plan stays simple: raid a den for items and levels, then kill a hobgoblin for a skill. Kang has heard enough, so he heads for the portal and tells everyone to get ready. Our boy thinks, are they really this reckless after 200 hours? Kang gives Hyungjun's group one last look and decides they are more dangerous than expected. Not directly, indirectly, he says, and the portal portal starts answering him. The den hits back first, throwing Kang through the debris before anyone can settle into formation. He shouts for the others to stay back as goblins pour through the portal with weapons raised. The armed goblin opens fire, and Kang takes the shot on his arm instead of letting it pass him. Then he yanks a poison dart from his skin and curses under his breath. Kang starts ordering everyone to charge, because holding the entrance is failing. But he stops cold and thinks, wait, why are they rushing us like that? Inhak panics and fires first, trying to break the goblin push with raw force. Kang catches the hot-headed move, restrains him in chains, and warns him that charging angry is still charging blind. Mi-kyung grabs the hooded fighter before he can make it worse, and Kang shouts over the chaos. Then someone points past the argument and tells them to stop fighting and look. Outside in the ruined snowy street now, the portal mess spills into a wider battle. A massive monster walks out through the rubble, and the group has to face it together instead of arguing over the goblins. One fighter asks if anyone wants to object now, with the monster right in front of them. The answer comes back flat, fine. The monster moves before the group finishes adjusting, and everyone snaps into survival mode. Kang drops under the attack as the huge shape sweeps over him. A claw reaches for the hooded fighter, and Mi-kyung looks up in shock as the strike closes in. Too close. Kimbap spots the opening and calls the rule out loud. The last hit gets the skill. Kang's fist ignites as he steps through the rubble to claim that hit himself. The monster goes down, and the street reacts in pieces. Mi-kyung freezes first, Kimbap stares at the body, and the blonde survivor recoils when he realizes Kang just took the finish. Kimbap crouches by the hobgoblin and calls for everyone to look. The body already has a hole torn through it, so Kang's clean finish may have landed on bait. The blonde survivor grits his teeth, furious that caution made him miss the trap. Then one survivor points upward and stammers that an arm is floating in midair. Kang follows his gaze and spots a lit object streaking down, turning the trap into an immediate overhead threat. The hooded fighter crouches over the others as a clawed monster bears down nearby, so the group is boxed in from above and beside them. The hooded fighter shields the group as the monster closes in, then lifts a sparking sphere instead of running. He calls it a firework, and the thing blows hard enough to make two men cover their faces. Too loud. One survivor curses the hooded fighter for using explosives at point-blank range, but the blast opens just enough space to move. A hand reaches for a fallen man, and Kang gets singled out in the mess. Kang thinks me right now. Kang and Inhak try to break away, but goblins pour over the wall behind them. Inhak gets thrown through the air before he can recover. Then, in a blink, Kang drags the chase into a narrower alley, and the goblins lose their clean angle. A goblin swings down to finish the runners, so Kang answers before the group collapses. Two goblins drop near the gate, and a bloodied blade stays planted in the ground. The alley goes quiet. Kang stands by the gate with the helmet in hand, ready to leave before more enemies stack up. The light-haired survivor objects on moral grounds, but Kang simply asks if he should go. No speech needed. Kang cuts down the next green creature before the argument can grow legs. He follows through with a curved blade, and the monster hits the ground dead. Nearby fighters stare first, then the light-haired survivor shuts up, and word starts moving that Kang can clear a path alone. Kang keeps cutting through the goblins, but the wider battle is already sliding out of control. Across the ruined street, a survivor reports the situation is terrible. Mi-kyung holds the front line anyway, buying seconds with pure combat instinct. A lookout shouts that goblins are coming from the front, while zombies push in from the west. From a rooftop, another ally calls down to check if the line is still alive. Suyeon, the party member, answers with long-range healing, and that is the only reason they are still standing. One fighter stands sweating as the healing kicks in, but the pressure does not let up. Kang sees the goblins tightening around the group and thinks, can they hold both sides? He lunges in with the heavy blade before the answer gets worse. The goblins bunch together with spears, trying to pin the falling target before Kang reaches them. More goblins raise crude weapons from the back line and prepare to fire into the crowd. The street fight is still spreading. Kang barely tilts away as a projectile skims his face, and the goblins rush the opening with blades raised. Our boy answers before they can swarm him, smashing one aside while another gets pinned from below. The line holds. Suyeon grips her weapon and checks Kang first, worried he is hurt. When he says a stat over 20 jumps hard, she blurts at the number, and Kang thinks, 20 already? How far can this body go now? Above the city, the fight tips into open air as Kang cuts off the explanation and drops toward the infected below. He throws one last line back, telling them he will see them later, then dives straight into the horde. No waiting around. The infected close in below, but Kang turns the drop into an attack before they can overwhelm him. He cuts through several of them in midair, then swings again through the goblin-like crowd on the street. The dive buys him space by thinning the horde instead of leaving him surrounded. Kang faces the taloned creature alone in the rubble, checking its reach before it can tear through the survivors behind him. Then the monster reaches up, and a skeleton answers the call instead. Kang names it Bone Creeper. Bone Creeper grins as if the trap is already finished, and Kang reads the setup at once. Wait, is it using him as bait? Then a soldier screams from the side street, begging Kang to save him just this once. Kang forces himself to stay calm because Mi-kyung and Suyeon are still buying time nearby. He thinks those two are built for the apocalypse, the kind of people he needs beside him. So he cuts through the street instead of chasing the skeleton blind. Goblins rush through the wreckage, but Kang tears through them before they reach the group. Survivors gasp that he is still moving after all that. Suyeon reassesses the gap in their stats, and the soldiers start calling him the man who cleared the street alone. Kang stops giving Bone Creeper a target and opens a dimensional gate with one hand. The skeleton realizes too late that Kang has slipped the fight away from it, and the giant monster is left towering over the survivors instead. Bone Creeper bears down, furious at the lost target, and the street detonates around it. The blast swallows the skull and the monster with it, while the survivors are left staring at the hole Kang just made in the battle. After the blast, Suyeon fixes Kang's torn shirt and tells him he can use her help anytime while she is there. Kang gives a startled yes, but his attention snaps to the rescued soldier because that man has military information he cannot ignore. At the survivor holdout now, the soldier explains he was stationed near the Kori nuclear power plant after D-Day to monitor the reactor. Here's the thing, if the core fails to cool, radiation breaks loose, and that pulls us right back to Kang's real problem. The monsters are not the only disaster moving toward them. At the survivor holdout, the rescued soldier finally says why he came. He tells Kang the problem is simple. If the Kori reactor stops cooling, radiation breaks loose. See, the reactor is not a monster Kang can stab and walk away from. The soldier describes radiation tearing through people after the core fails, which brings us right back to Kang's real fight. The apocalypse has disasters stacked behind the zombies. The rescued soldier admits he understands why nobody trusted him at first. Then he hears a scream nearby and snaps his head around. A monster corners a soldier and civilians, and the soldier breaks first. He begs for one chance, while Kang watches the panic spread through people who cannot afford panic. The soldier drops to the floor and apologizes hard enough to bruise his pride. Kang looks down at him without blinking, and the soldier's excuse dies before it leaves his mouth. The soldier stops begging and raises the knife beside his face, but his hands shake under the rain. Then he drags the blade across his own fingers, turning panic into a self-inflicted wound instead of an escape. Kang grips the knife and takes the monster head-on before it can reach the civilians. Our boy catches the attack at close range, then drags the kneeling soldier back by the chin and orders, "Get up." Kang straightens with that small, smug smile, already turning panic into a usable plan. He thinks, can Meeking reach level 10 before this place collapses? Inhake goes over the soldier's story and admits they could not simply trust one desperate warning. So Kang sets the next step. Meekyung hits level 10 first, since her next trait may decide how fast everyone can move. Kang sends Hyungjun, the document keeper, and Suyeon to gather carrying bags because people cannot evacuate empty-handed. Then an officer challenges Kang's earlier call and says he already sent his unit to the Gimhae battalion warehouse. The officer clenches up over the golf course group, still angry enough to shout. Kang raises a hand behind him, stopping the argument before it turns into another problem. Kang wraps his injured hand and calls the move out. The kid checks the bodies around him and thinks, wait, this many dead and I'm not up north? A green creature lies crushed at their feet as Kang's group steps over the wreckage. The route is open for now, but the reactor warning is still moving ahead of them. The wounded soldier presses his bleeding chest and forces the talk forward with one tired anyway. He reaches for a severed head on the ground, but the head starts screaming as a suited awakened raises a marked hand and drags an answer out of it. Kang hears the answer and cuts straight to the problem. Did Survivor 1, the informant near the president, really join hands with the government? The suited awakened says the president is alive too, but Kang rubs his nose and thinks, wait, they expect me to buy that? The wounded soldier clutches his torso and warns Kang not to chase every detail, calling the extra talk filler. Kang still needs the route, so he turns to Togong, the auction house contact, and pulls the next piece of intel out of him. Togong points Kang toward Ujeongbu, but Kang crowds him hard enough that the man yells he is not lying. Togong sees Kang as desperate, so he finally leans in and offers to check that face for him. The route sounds usable for half a breath, but a breath later, Kang looks aside and finds the ruined street packed with infected staring back at him. Not clear after all. A shirtless man in bunny ears runs through the ruined city shouting X's, while two men laugh because he has done this before. The danger has shifted from silent infected to survivors who are loud, chaotic, and impossible to read. Past the infected, the new survivor crowd is somehow stranger than the monsters. A bunny-eared runner charges through the ruined city yelling nonsense. Two men crack up because he acted the same way last time, and a blonde man in a bunny suit poses like he prepared for this disaster in a mirror. Kang narrows his eyes at the performance, and our boy has one clean question. Are these people useful or just loud? The blonde survivor announces that the protagonist always arrives late, and Kang lets the speech run long enough to see who follows him. The bunny group starts sorting people by whatever clicks with them, tapping through a floating system panel as if recruitment is a game menu. Then one of them calls out to an old man, and the mood drops when he admits he is not close with Survivor 1 at all. Kang keeps walking through the broken street while the confession opens up. One survivor says government shelters should screen people under orders, and Kang thinks if shelters start picking winners, who gets left outside? At the ruined building, the screening turns into a power check. One person kneels inside pink-purple light, and Meekyung closes her eyes with her hands cupped, focusing her energy as the numbers 5 and 8 mark who has usable strength. Kang has allies moving, shelters cracking, and evacuation already turning ugly, so every strange new survivor now matters to his second run. Near Meekyung, a mocking survivor points out that he has found her location, and Meekyung turns cold the moment she understands he tracked her. Mikong tries to react, but the man rushes her before she can finish speaking. The hit jars her back, and his hand comes out right after, offering help with a flat, "Grab on then." Elsewhere, inside a survivor meeting room, two figures step through a strange doorway and land in front of people already seated at a table. The president stands, gives his name like he is opening a formal meeting, and another guest waves like this is a house visit. Two men say the group only had fun when all four of them were together, turning the conversation into a direct slight against someone present. The brown-haired man blurts out confusion, and the pale-haired man snaps that saying it to someone's face is way too harsh. Then the stranger grins, adjusts his cloak, and keeps one hand close to his sword. Kang sits across from the group as someone calls out for Bunny Princess and waves toward a seat. That nickname survives longer than it deserves. The table talk stops feeling playful when one woman tears up and the hooded man beside her stiffens. A furious survivor slams his fist down and demands to know if recruitment was the only reason they dragged him here. The news hits the group unevenly. An older man clutches his chest while a younger man stays steady behind him. A scarred survivor forces a grin and double thumbs up, but another older man gapes, showing the room is rattled instead of ready. Back with Kang near the evacuation routes, a government notice warns that the Kori nuclear plant is melting down. Kang thinks, did another disaster already start outside my plan? He accepts that listening to the captain was the right call, because Hyungjun's group finishes before dawn and moves fast toward the villa district. At the ruined waterfront, Kang pushes power through his hand and fixes on the next job. He thinks, if the shelters are failing, what do I clear first? The answer is waiting below, where a giant zombie and its horde are cutting toward fleeing people. People sprint through falling rubble while Kang drops into the wrecked street to stop the giant zombie before it reaches them. It should be a clean rescue. And just like that, the creature's claw forces him back, and Kang has to fight with both weapon and blade just to keep its face turned away from the runners. Kang hammers the giant zombie open before it can reach the runners. He thinks, can my raw power break this thing fast enough? Our boy answers himself with one more strike, and the giant finally starts coming apart. The smaller zombies rush in to cover the giant's fall, so Kang meets them before they can spill into the evacuees. One zombie catches his blade with both hands and screams through the pain, trying to pin him in place. But one heartbeat later, Kang rips free and drives forward again. Kang shouts a command and forces the lane open, chasing the last threat past a huge shadow in the street. The kid reaches the glowing pyramid-shaped device, and the street finally gives him a second to breathe. Then a paper airplane cuts across the sky. Kang freezes at the paper airplane and thinks, wait, did Hyungjun already finish the level 10 homework? That signal pulls him from the fight to Hyungjun's side, where the group has stacked enough supplies for 4 people to survive a month. Hyungjun's people celebrate the stockpile, but Kong wants the full count. One member salutes and reports, so Kong pushes for the other 2 members before trusting the base plan. Hyungjun's group has chosen Villa District Sector B because they need a defensible base near the evacuation mess. One member smirks through the report, and another stands over bottled water like the supplies are already locked down. Small comfort, big target. The first useful ability belongs to Doll Bomb, a survivor who turns cute little dolls into explosives on command. Hyungjun's group tests it by strapping one to an arrow, and the blast wipes through goblins before they can close in. Not a gentle pitch. That noise draws worse people into the same disaster zone. Near the rubble, the Dead Boys faction makes its entrance, with a throne leader treating starving civilians like entertainment instead of survivors. The throne leader mocks a zombie-obsessed survivor and laughs about human zombie children, then orders his boys to grab the people nearby. The Dead Boys move on the civilians, and a bag of food gets ripped away while the owners beg for mercy. When someone talks back, the throne leader snaps because he is already in a foul mood. Then the auction house screen lights up in front of him, and his face tightens as he realizes the deal is turning against him. The throne leader opens 2 curved blades from his chair and gives Bunny Princess a pass, calling him unhinged enough to ignore for now. But Kimbap, the loot stealer, gets no such mercy in his head, and the Dead Boys' next move points straight toward Kang's side. Kimbap's auction trouble finally reaches Kang in the worst possible way. The throne leader throws a fit over Kimbap, then sends the Dead Boys southwest to drag Kang's side into it. Kang watches the throne leader settle back like the order is already done. Then the leader snaps his fingers, and the Dead Boys step out with their codenames Bloodhun, Shaesung, Geocrown, and Requiemana. Kang waits above the ruins with blood already running from his hand, so the Dead Boys' hunt has reached him. He expects trouble from below, but the pale-haired Dead Boy drops from a ruined building toward him and Kimbap, turning the order into an immediate attack. Kimbap sees Kang get hit and freezes, because our boy just took the strike meant to break their formation. All 3 tumble down the building together. No clean landing. Below, the throne leader looks up and decides one person is not worth killing today. He lets the survivor live, saying he does not want to become a murderer, then turns as the Dead Boys close in somewhere else. The civilians see the black-faced Dead Boys closing around them, and terror takes over fast. One man shrieks, then the scream turns into pain as the rival faction starts collecting bodies instead of supplies. A few days later, back at Kang's base, he moves on from the ambush by building tools for the next hunt. He lays out the mithril hook, iron powder-coated gloves, and emerald spear, then lifts the hook with a grin like the plan is finally getting teeth. Kang Kang reaches for the beetle-like scout on the table, and it jumps at his hand with a confused cry. This guy needs the creature's intel because a new event called speedrun is coming up. Kang sees the scout react hard and thinks, what did it just find? The creature buzzes past him in a panic, so Kang asks what it is instead of guessing blind. The scout points Kang to a marked spot on the map, and Kang studies the red circle. You see, he already checked that area once with a drone. The problem is the drone saw the place but could not identify what was inside, and that pulls us right back to the red circle. At the forest path, Kang follows the lead himself, because regret is worse than risk in his book. He thinks if the drone missed it, what is hiding out here? The answer charges him in fur and teeth, so Kang meets it with a chainsaw and forces it down before it can tear through him. The hit lands, but the memory of past disasters flashes through his head, because he still has too much to do before the real collapse arrives. Kang still has no report from the beetles, and that bothers him more than the red mark itself. In the car, he thinks, what can I do if even they found nothing? So our boy chooses the ugly answer, go see it himself. Inside the forest, Kang feels the pressure hit before anything shows up. Dingo, his sharp dog companion, pants beside him, and Kang mutters that the air is way heavier than what the drone saw. A thick fog hangs inside the forest, and strange glowing marks float through the air, so Kang stops to examine the ground. Then he snaps his head towards something ahead, because the forest is showing signs of an abnormal threat before he can even see it. Kang starts to call the beetles, then a growl cuts him off. He draws steel instead, because the beetles would just eat the loot first, and a wolf lunges straight into his knife. Another wolf closes in, and Kang ducks behind a tree with sweat running down his face. Damn it, the werewolf is already hunting by scent, so hiding only buys him a few seconds. Kang reaches for his watch first, needing the portal ready before the werewolf pins him down. Dingo whines over his shoulder, and Kang thinks, can I pull the same trick I used on the orc? Kang steps out with Dingo as bait and calls the werewolf over with one clean insult. The beast takes it and charges, so this guy rushes in first, opening a wound before it can crush him. The hit should slow the werewolf down. Kang has its attention, the wound is fresh, and the setup looks perfect. Then, in a blink, the werewolf roars through the pain and comes harder. Kang grabs Dingo tight and forces the fight into one last gamble. Even without the fire can he used on the orc. The werewolf's berserk charge tears up the ground, but Kang fires back at point-blank range and drops it before it reaches his throat. Kang kneels over the fallen werewolf, sweating through the relief as he checks whether it is really down. He exhales. That was close, and the forest finally gives him a second to breathe. Kang lands a hard slash and stands his ground against the furred beast, confident enough to smirk after the clash. Instead of treating this as finished, he tells it, we'll be seeing each other again soon, making it clear the confrontation is not over. Kang knows this is not like the orc fight because he has no fire can to finish the job. Killing the werewolf straight up will be brutal, so he drives his weapon into its body and uses the dimensional portal to stay out of reach. But how many escapes does he have left? The werewolf roars through the wound and charges anyway. Kang's portal trick only works twice at most, so every dodge burns one of his best answers, which brings us right back to the werewolf eating another hit and still refusing to fall. Kang comes out near the cave with his spear ready, trying to end this before the forest stacks more problems on him. Then the system announces wolf senses, and the werewolf grows even nastier as nearby wolves rush the fight. Bad timing. Kang injures the werewolf again, but it stays upright and snarls through the damage. He calls up slot 2, thinks the damage is landing, and loads the tool already in his hands. Can he force a real opening before it recovers? Kang fires the next shot and blasts the werewolf back, finally making its body stagger. For one breath, the plan looks clean, but the next second, the werewolf growls, resets, and comes back meaner. The werewolf crashes down on him, claws raised, and Kang accepts the timing with one sharp thought. Good. He turns, slashes up across its face, and the wound finally makes the beast scream. There it is. Kang presses the cut before the werewolf can turn its rage into another charge. The beast still does not drop, so Kang looks up tense as both of them tear back into the fight. The werewolf refuses to back off, so Kang takes the claw head on and pays for it in his arm. He bites out a pained shout, scrambles onto the beast's back, and keeps cutting before it can pin him again. The beast keeps forcing the blade back toward Kang's face, and our boy finally admits the obvious. This thing is tough. He drives the sword into its body anyway, but the werewolf only screams harder in the rain. Kang rolls clear because he needs space before the werewolf uses that next rush. The kid snaps out his wire hook, aims for the trees, and thinks only one thing now: high ground. The hook bites into a trunk, and Kang hauls himself up with a quick relieved check. Got it. But an instant later, he looks down and freezes, because the werewolf is already back on its feet. The system warns him the werewolf has gone berserk, and combat instinct kicks in for the beast. Kang strains to finish his setup, while it tears after him again, way too fast for comfort. The werewolf reaches him before the wire plan is ready. Too close. It crashes in from behind, then claws at the tree where Kang was hiding a breath earlier. Kang lands on a branch and taunts it for being a real pain, but the werewolf answers by getting above him. This guy checks the system panel and asks the only useful question: can combat instinct make it jump? The werewolf launches for him, and Kang gets his answer mid-air. 4 meters. He fires straight into his head before that jump can turn into a kill. Someone calls Yuhian's name, but the man raises his hand in disgust and still spits out the truth. Being the same species makes him sick. The danger may be shifting, but his reaction makes one thing clear: he is repulsed, not relieved. Back at the shelter route planning, Mi-kyung, the cautious acquaintance Kang asked to watch people, crouches nearby while the map gets marked up. Kang's earlier order hangs over the room. Some people are not just survivors, and he wants them spotted before they reach his walls. At the ruined shelter, the supply crew looks harmless at first, just hauling boxes boxes like they plan to move. But the watchers spot knives, captives, and guards. So Mi-kyung asks In-hak, the intel runner, why Kang wanted eyes on people like that. In-hak does not dress it up. Kang judges villains himself, then executes them by his own rules. Kang looks up and keeps the answer simple. He is doing this to save as many people as he can. So he studies the shelter blueprints with Dingo nearby, finds the hideout entrance, and the group lands on the same unspoken plan. Mi-kyung, In-hak, and Kimbap, the gamer who steals last hits, all understand the job now. Kang tells the others to rest, then moves alone across the rooftops at night. He spots the brainwashed guards still acting like themselves and thinks, poor bastards. Then he eats a shade grape and the system boosts his night vision hard. Kang came ready, so the darkness does not slow him down anymore. He draws his crystal weapons and thinks, can they still react if I drop them first? Then our boy dives in and sends the blades for the guards before they can warn anyone. For the next step, Kang pays the small creature 10 pieces of sweet potato jelly to open the root from inside. The creature chirps back, and Kang sends it down with one clean order. He is counting on it. Fair price, honestly. The creature opens a circular crack in the wall, giving Kang a new way into the chamber. Kang slips through, but two small creatures are already beside him, and one chirps a confused question. His quiet entry now has witnesses, so the clean route is not clean anymore. The blast rips through the chamber, forcing Kang to shield his eyes while fire and smoke swallow the floor below. Two people inside scramble to beat down the flames, so the shelter finally knows someone has broken in. Too late. Inside the corridor, one guard crouches to strike while a woman flinches back and chokes on a half-formed curse. Kang moves through the smoke first, and by the time the room settles, the attacker is already down on the floor. Our hero's eyes lock on the next hiding spot. Kang calls toward the couch and asks if the last one plans to come out. The hidden fighter stays crouched, so Kang sends his weapons across the floor toward him. How many are left in here? In-hak peeks out from the corner and nearly gets punished for it. The hidden fighter swings first, but In-hak catches the attack and buys Kang one clean second. Kang raises his weapon and thinks, wait, what was that line about sleeping around? Then he drops the question and rushes in, because the room still has people trying to kill him. The attacker expects Kang to stay cautious after that ambush. Kang instead steps over the fallen mess and admits the fight taught him how to trigger combat instinct, but one heartbeat later, the attacker reaches for him anyway. Bad choice. Kang punches him hard enough to send him crashing back, but the guy claws at the blonde fighter's leg and drags the room into one last dirty scramble. The blonde fighter tries to turn the room itself into a weapon, smashing a chair and forcing Kang back through the chaos. It does not save him. He hits the floor coughing blood, with a blade lying close enough to make the whole room tense. Kang stands over them with one eye burning red, and the blonde fighter finally spills what he knows. He shouts that even Gimhae and Shangwon are places Kang will need to flee to from the radiation. So this revenge gang came prepared with real intel. Bleeding out, the fighter still crawls and snarls about getting his hands on Kang. Kang keeps the sword on him, while another body lies dead nearby with a severed hand on the floor. The last fighter's eye flashes, and Kang catches the move too late to ignore it. The man spits blood and swears he will never give Kang any points. Then his hand crawls toward the dropped knife. Kang thinks, is he really denying the kill reward? The fighter mutters that he will wait in hell, then cuts his own throat before Kang can stop him. With the shelter fight finished, Kang carries the limp young man out on his back. Mi-kyung and another survivor lie collapsed nearby, so the rescue turns from a raid into cleanup. At the stash room, Kang and Dingo check the packed boxes for anything worth keeping. Our boy came for captives and answers, but supplies are still supplies. Outside the hideout, Kang watches from the bushes with binoculars while Dingo helps track the brainwashed subordinates. The freed women wake up terrified, asking where they are and who these men are. Kang studies the injector and weighs whether freeing them is a clean win or another problem. Here's the thing, brainwashing is not just a switch in this world. People follow the loudest group when fear takes over, which drags us straight back to the survivors in front of him. So Kang starts sorting the 11 survivors, including the 2 freed women, by who can still choose for themselves. A handshake seals the first small agreement, but the shelter has already shown him how fast desperate people turn. With the captives sorted and the hideout still shaky, Kang keeps chasing one thing: survive this apocalypse on his own terms. Outside, the rescued group pulls itself together, but a panicked survivor bolts in shouting for answers. At the shelter, Kang stretches like his back personally survived the end of the world. Mi-kyung snaps at him to stop sighing before he brings the house down, and our boy only makes that tired face worse. Kang admits he does know more, then stops short because even his own explanation sounds thin. Mi-kyung grabs his waistband and drags him along anyway, flatly saying she cannot deal with vague answers right now. Kang leads them to the next dungeon and calls it a taster dungeon. Like that clears anything up. A man gets hit by the dungeon's costume change and ends up in underwear, staring at Kang's explanation like it betrayed him. The joke turns physical fast. A girl kicks the half-dressed man from behind, and when he asks why so suddenly, she says she feels better now and was not even angry. The man keeps posing through the humiliation, so the girl takes one look at his face and wants to hit him again. He asks if she understands, and she charges like the answer is finally yes. Kang meets the chaos with one deadpan welcome. Then a pink-haired player steps in with flowers, drama, and way too much confidence, announcing that they finally meet in the real world. Kang blinks at him and thinks, why me? The pink-haired player insists Kang should remember him, so Kang tests the old game identity and asks if his first ID was Fairy of Love. The pink-haired player lights up because Kang remembers, but the reunion sours instantly. A bearded companion wants to keep swinging, and Mi-kyung watches the mood tilt from silly to uncomfortable. The pink-haired player makes his real pitch while carrying a young boy. Power, resources, and a foundation big enough to take over. Kang hears the offer, checks the danger behind the smile, and answers no thanks. The pink-haired player laughs off the rejection, but Kang snaps toward a sudden impact, and the joke collapses into public humiliation. The recruiter is left in his underwear while two men hold him back, so his big power pitch loses its threat fast. He demands Kang take it back, clutching his bleeding chest while muttering about all the crazies around him. Then he walks forward through the rubble and throws up a thumbs up, swearing he does not lose. The threat shifts again when two red-eyed figures step in. Kang faces them and thinks, wait, are these two still thinking? The shadowed figure decides the rules for everyone and says he is the cop now, while Kang and the others are the robbers. The crouched attacker lunges before anyone can argue, but the attacker starts counting. On 1, the red-clad long-haired man moves first, making the countdown a signal that Kang has to react to immediately. The red-eyed attacker keeps counting, and Kang catches the word 2 a heartbeat too late. He swings back on 3, trying to shut that rhythm down fast, but a breath later, Kang gets launched through the rubble. Our boy scrambles through the broken street and follows the next hit by sound alone. In the dark, fists crack against bodies until the red-eyed attacker finally drops out of the fight. When the noise dies, Mi-kyung sits there trembling with tears in her eyes. She has no clean answer for why she survived this, only the shaking left after it. Elsewhere in the ruined city, Kimbap, the loot stealer, stares at his chat window and realizes his stream is basically empty. He asks if no one is really joining, then hovers over the button to end the recording. Then one viewer tells Kimbap that watching him is their only joy, and his hand stops. Kimbap reads it, perks up, and starts typing again like quitting was never on the table. The ranking board opens over the city with 5 empty nickname slots and perfect 0 times. Kimbap points at the system and explains that players can meet inside this event, just like farming dungeons. The event route splits players across hostile ground, with zombies and goblins waiting between them. Kimbap says faster clears bring better rewards, so everyone suddenly has a reason to move instead of hide. Then Kimbap warns them that the place has a nasty dark side. The thing is, this is still an early game event, so the monsters have weaker tracking and lower stats than they should. That brings us right back to Kang, who hears that and thinks, wait, they are nerfed that hard? Kimbap clutches his chest but keeps smiling, because he wants to be useful now. He promises he will protect the others and help them grow, no matter what. Kang checks the speedrun notes he saved thanks to Bolsongman, the donor who fed him useful information before. With those notes, this guy reads the event like a solved route, not a mystery. Kang says the reinforced zombies are not respawning, so the event should be easier now. A voice immediately dares him to prove it by clearing the place himself. Kang refuses because he lacks link or stealth traits, and the matchup is bad. When the chat mocks him for backing out, he opens his status window and smirks. Nice try. Back in the ruined alley, Kang follows a crackling sound through the debris. He peeks around a broken wall and finds what he was hoping for, a dimensional portal. The red anomaly stands open in front of him, and Kang stops with one thought still turning. What if this leads to the real route? He bites his glove and steps into the next problem. Kang steps into the red anomaly, chasing the route he came here to test. The portal throws him hard instead, and he drops inside the corridor of death, exactly where he wanted to start. Bad landing. Kang wakes in the dark with infected already dragging through the corridor. He thinks, does this place still follow the game rules? If it does, there is no reason to waste time. The infected should sniff him out the moment he moves. Kang slips between them anyway, hunting for the gap in their tracking. But an instant later, one infected lunges and screams right beside him. Kang keeps walking and cuts down the slow infected one by one. The nearby survivors hear the bodies drop, then red cracks rip open around them and panic spreads through the corridor. One wounded survivor screams while the rest freeze in place. More corpses rise, and Kang remembers this area taking forever in Sura. You see, the early event weakens zombie tracking and stats, so speed matters more than raw fighting. Which brings us right back to Kang opening his inventory and calmly pulling gear from his slots. The infected crowd rushes him, so our boy stops treating them like a wall and starts treating them like a route. He cuts through the ones blocking his escape, spots the slower targets, and clears just enough space to run. One infected lunges in close with its teeth out, but Kang is already leaving. He jumps backward through the red portal with his sword up, and the horde reaches empty air. Too late. Kang bursts out of the portal, falls hard, and lands ready instead of panicking. His thought stays simple. The point is not to win every fight here. It is to run. Ahead, goblins crouch around a campfire, so Kang asks the next question fast. Can he break their formation before they swarm him? He closes in and kicks the burning logs straight into them. The goblins scatter, and Kang uses that tiny mess to strike first. He drops onto one, cuts into another, then pushes forward with a knife, and his pack's still on. This guy packed for a disaster and brought footwork too. Kang suddenly stops because something else moves nearby. Two survivors stand back to back with improvised weapons, guarding each other like they have already been cornered once. Kang has found people inside the anomaly. Those two cornered survivors Kang just found are already drawing more trouble. The blonde survivor swings a torch and yells, "Stay back!" Kang spots the fire and thinks, why bring bait to a monster nest? Behind the fence, the red gate keeps forming, so the trap is still open. A goblin crouches nearby, busy with whatever it stole, and the survivors are seconds from being boxed in. The torch should buy the survivors a little space. The goblins should keep pressing them from the dark, and just like that, Kang pulls slot 1 and attacks first. His knife punches into one goblin from behind, and the creature chokes out in pain. It collapses over the larger body in front of it, so the pack's attention snaps away from the survivors. Kang dives into the opening before the goblins can regroup. He cuts through the circle, scatters the closest ones, and bodies hit the ground around the campfire. The survivors watch goblin bodies fly past them, and one of them blurts, "What in the?" Yuka, the short-haired survivor in the group, grips her weapon tighter instead of relaxing. Help has arrived, but it is wearing Kang's face. Kang keeps his distance and says he stepped in because they looked cornered. Then this guy asks if helping was too nosy, like he did not just delete the whole problem first. Kang smiles and asks for a moment to talk, offering an open hand instead of another fight. Before anyone can answer, a figure bursts into flames nearby, turning the attempted truce into a fresh danger at the camp. By the campfire, Kang starts with the practical questions. He asks their names and where they live, because strangers inside a red gate can be allies, bait, or worse. Yuka introduces herself, and the voice issue hits Kang right away. She says Kang and Juniper both still sound Japanese to her, so Kang thinks, wait, the language is being changed for both sides? See, Kang once obsessed over the Russian fishing boat incident for two reasons. First, he wanted to know if ordinary people with no awakened contact could still survive. Second, Survival Life only released in Korean, which brings us right back to Yuka and Juniper understanding him now. Then Kang looks up and goes still. Above the anomaly, a massive purple eye hangs over the camp, making it clear this red gate mystery is bigger than the two strangers in front of him. Kang studies it, but even with everything he knows, he cannot name it yet. He thinks, what are you? For now, the answer stays out of reach. Before Kang can chase that thought any further, Yuka calls out to him. By the fire, the two survivors sit shaken, and one apologizes for drifting off because even the rescued people are still trying to process where they are. By the fire, the two rescued survivors have recovered enough to move again, so they thank Kang for saving them and explaining how to clear the place. Kang does not press them for more. He just tells them the talk was worth it. Once they leave, Kang's warning skill is suddenly put to the test. Terrain detection LV2 should alert him before danger gets close, but red-eyed creatures still push out of the bushes around him, meaning he is already surrounded. Kang moves first. Desperate to clear the swamp before it traps him, our boy cuts through the goblins in one spinning rush, and the ambush falls apart before it can bite down. After the fight, Kang checks the area and finds open books scattered near a pedestal. He thinks, wait, nothing changed? Then he reaches for the book anyway, because weird rewards are still rewards. The pages lift on their own, and Kimbap, the gamer who loves stealing last hits, suddenly reads the reward notice with a grin. He even considers using I like Kimbap, where everyone can see it. That name needs a chair and a long talk. The system starts calculating Kang's record, then drops the reward. Leather shoes with health, agility, and light steps. Kang pulls the wing boots from the item box, already testing how they change his movement. Then Kang pauses on the skill itself. He thinks, why add this to real life? Here's the thing. The game always punished anything that broke its survival rules, which drags us straight back to Kang staring at a real-world item that should not exist. Best of all for Kang, the auction house comments he hated are about to become useful. He raises the new item like proof that his preparation is still paying out, one strange reward at a time. Outside that small victory, the danger keeps moving. Beside a stone wall, an unknown figure grips a dripping knife and waits, and Kang's next problem is already